Universal City, Texas. It is May 16th, 2023. I'll call this meeting to order now at 6:30 p.m. and call for a quorum check, please.
Mr. Neville? I'm
Here.
sorry. Mayor Williams?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Neville?
Here.
Councilmember Buck?
Here.
Councilmember Goolsby?
Here.
Councilmember Najarian?
Here.
Councilmember Shelby?
Here.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Here.
Quorum is present, we shall proceed. The seeming speech will be given by Mayor Pro Tem Neville, and I'll lead us in the pledges afterwards, so would everyone please stand.
Let us pray. Father, we ask you to shower your blessing on all the endeavors of Universal City in the years ahead, as you always have in the past. Tonight, two new members, Bulman and Christina Fitzpatrick, take their places on this council to help guide this city into the near future. And this council will continue to have the voice and acquire wisdom of Councilmember Goolsby, along with Councilmembers Buck and Vaughan, to listen to and act on the concerns of the citizens of our fair city. Help our city administration to formulate policies which resolve differences between code and tradesmen to make it easy to conduct business here. As concerned members of the Republic of the United States, let us resolve to stand steadfast in support of all the members of our armed forces who stand guard around the world. We meet tonight just 9 days after the anniversary of May 8, 1945, of VE Day, the end of World War II in Europe, and just 3.5 months before victory in the Pacific. And then we are near entering the 7th year of our truce with North Korea. We must stand tall with our allies everywhere they are. Bless the citizen, the city, and its leadership. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming this evening. A wonderful, wonderful crowd. We're going to say goodbye to two fantastic people and say hello to two fantastic people. So it's a very special evening for all of us. A little bittersweet, certainly, but that's the way the process is done, and it's been done well. So first thing we have on our agenda this evening is it's National Poppy Day coming up pretty soon, and we have the privilege of reading a special proclamation to the American Legion Ladies Auxiliary Missing Man Unit 667. And I'm going to ask, is Miss Sager and Ms. Hogan here? Come on up and join me, and Mr. Mayor Pro Tem is going to read the very first part of it, and he'll pass it on to Councilmember Shelby, who will read the last part of it. So I'll join the ladies down there, and you guys go ahead and read when I get down. I don't know how many you're all totally familiar with this, but you're going to learn a little bit as they read this proclamation. It's really fantastic. One second. Okay.
Proclamation of the City of Universal City for National Poppy Day 2023. Whereas Universal City is the gateway to Randolph Air Force Base, and whereas Universal City is closely tied to the military community and supports all military members, including veterans and current service members, and whereas poppies are worn and displayed as a symbolic tribute to our fallen and the future living veterans and service members, and whereas at the end of World War I, the American Legion family adopted the poppy as a symbol of freedom and the blood sacrificed by troops in wartime. The symbolic use of the poppy comes from a poem in Flanders Fields, which movably begins. In Flanders Fields, the poppies flow between the crosses, row on row, referring to poppies that sprang up in the churned up earth of newly dug soldiers' graves over parts of Belgium and France. And whereas
and family has long utilized the red poppy as its official flower, symbolizing the blood shed by those who have served in our U.S. military and the meaning and symbolism of the poppy, mirroring the manner in which the international community uses the symbol in remembrance of those lost in battle, especially for Remembrance Day, also known as Armistice Day and Poppy Day. And whereas National Poppy Day encourages all Americans to wear a red poppy in remembrance of the fallen and support living service members and veterans, promoting unity across our country. And whereas U.S. House Resolution 309 recognized each Friday for Memorial Day as National Poppy Day, making May 26, 2023 an appropriate date to designate as National Poppy Day. Now therefore, let it be resolved that Mayor Williams of the City of Universal City supports the designation of May 26, 2023 as National Poppy Day. And be it further resolved that the Universal City Council encourages all members and visitors of Universal City, Texas to join in observing this day to honor every service member who has died in the name of liberty, freedom, and democracy, while also showing their support for living veterans, service members, and their family members.
Look at this shirt that she's wearing. Isn't that special? Pretty special. Look at that. Yeah. Think of anything more appropriate to do than have this proclamation for National Poppy Day. And I'm not sure many of you were totally aware of the tradition, but it's pretty spectacular. And we have an incredibly active ladies auxiliary here in Universal City. And it's my honor to be able to present them with this proclamation. And I hope you display it properly at the Legion.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And would you like to say anything now?
Well, no, I wasn't prepared to say anything, but usually I can come up with something. But I would love to see everybody with a poppy on next year at this time, tomorrow. Hopefully, if people are small business owners, you will allow ladies from the Legion to come and set up and maybe get donations for all the poppies. We'll give them out and whatever, and you guys can just say, oh, come on in, come give them some money.
Well, it's all obviously for a very just and worthy cause, without question. So, congratulations for what you all do in supporting our veterans and those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for their country. So, let me present this to you.
Thank you very much.
I'm very happy to be able to do that. Congratulations. Those are some of the opportunities that really make this job a lot of fun. Okay, let's move on to procedure for this evening. The first one is tab number 80, which is to consider the minutes of the Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023 City Council regular meeting. Entertain a motion to approve as amended. Mayor Pro Tem. Second. The motion is seconded, and second by Councilmember Shelby. Appropriate. All right, any discussion, anybody? All right, call for the vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Neville.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelby.
Aye.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
That motion passes. It's very appropriate that the motion was made and seconded by two outgoing council people. All right, the next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. It's a chance for citizens to address council on matters or concerns, matters of interest. We don't take any action on it, but we certainly welcome anybody's participation in it. It's been very active in recent years, and that's really been extremely helpful to us on council as you address us on concerns or issues that you may think are very important. And by the way, they all are. They don't go on any deaf ears. So the individuals that have signed up this evening, I'll call you up in order that you signed in. First of all, Ms. Lori Putt, just give us your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Lori Cup, 114 Fox Club, Universal City. I'm here to wish you, Mr. Neville and Mr. Shelby, well. I want to thank you for your time. I've given you your goodbye, but you, I want to thank you for the tremendous support that you've given Parks Partners in the time that we've been doing this. You are our biggest cheerleader. You are our greatest fan. But to sit here year after year and watch you and listen to you, I appreciate you. And I know you've blocked me from your memory. He and I are the only ones who know this, but he was my CCD teacher when I was in 11th grade. And I apologize, and I have prayed for forgiveness. Because I know I did, yeah, whatever. Anyway, I just want you to know how honored we are as citizens and residents to have had you stand up here and guide us. You are an amazing man. I promised your wife we will keep you busy. Right? Is that what you wanted? Okay. I've got your number.
You agreed to that?
I agreed to that. She's nodding. But thank you. Bear, God bless you. We're so glad that you're still here. And I really do want to open arms welcome Ashton and Kristen because, wow, 2 women on board, we are in for a great ride. I appreciate you running, I appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to it. But thank all of you, but don't go too far because I've got your number.
You can't walk through it.
Me neither, so I'll catch you. Thank you very much.
The next individual that's on the meeting is Mr. Bill Havlick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bill Havlick, 13406 Adonis, Universal City. I came here to say congratulations to the winners, wherever you're sitting, some up there, some back there. It was nice to see 6 people run. It was nice to see that 6 citizens had the interest to run in this recent election. I sat up there for 4 terms, and your seat's up there today, and people would ask me, where do you live? I would tell them I live in the greatest country in the world, and I live in the greatest city in the United States of America. And they'd say, you're crazy. Ask the mayor. I've been called worse than that sitting up there, correct?
Yes, sir.
I've been called worse than that. I'd look them straight in the face and tell them prove me wrong. I'm convinced we have the best fire department, police department, public works, city staff in the United States of America. I tell everybody that still to today. In working with the city and the staff, some of you are back there, some of you are up there, some of you are over there. I've met some of the finest people I've ever met in my life. I've made lifelong friendships with a lot of them. And I want to thank them all for that. We had challenges. I know you have challenges, and the new people, you're going to have challenges too. We had the Pat Booker Road remodeling. I don't know if anybody remembers that. The world almost ended on that one, besides that. After that, the golf course flooded. I don't know how we solved that one, but we solved that one. We solved all the challenges because we worked together as a team. And that's how you got to approach this. It's got to be one team. Discuss the differences, work out the problems, work together toward a common solution. Lastly, for you all up there and the people going to be sworn in, have fun. If you don't have fun, it ain't worth it. When I first came in the Army in 1974 at our graduation, General Dinges told us, if it ain't fun to put on the boots, it's time to hang up the uniform. If it ain't fun, it ain't worth doing it. I want to tell you all, I'll keep you all in my prayers. May the good Lord bless each and every one of you. Be safe and God bless. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. From Chicago, right? All right, next individual signed this evening, Mr. Bernie Rubal.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you very much, council members, for all your time and efforts in all that you've done for Universal City. Sometimes it seems like we don't agree on everything, and we probably don't. However, we still have a common goal, and that is to move things forward to benefit all of our citizens. So again, I thank the retiring members of our council so very, very much, and I congratulate the new members. And Mr. Barrett, also Ms. Goolsby also, for continuing your efforts on behalf of Universal City. I want to just, actually, as you know, I usually have another note, and that is, one note on the poppies. If you ever walk the distance between Veterans Park and the disc golf course and up to our city park, Red Horse, you'll notice that there are stands of wild red poppies along the roadway and along Cibolo Creek. So just FYI, if you've never noticed them, they're there. The last thing that I'd like to bring up is, of course, a matter of significant council business of past and future, and that is using the words of our city manager that she sometimes uses. I think there's general agreement that we should reduce the permitting for fence repair. Thank you very much. That was like
I also want to thank you for your continued interest and your willingness to participate in the process as well. Thank you very much. Okay, the last individual that signed up this evening is Mr. Ken Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, Ken Taylor, Universal City Hall. As you know, leadership is a big responsibility. Councilmember Neville has been carrying that responsibility for 24 years, which is remarkable. As he departs the council, it is with the knowledge that he has served his community well and has made a lasting difference for the good. While serving as city manager, I knew that I could always count on his wisdom and his forward thinking. As Councilmember Shelby also departs the council, it seems like it was only yesterday that he was the rookie member of the city council. Now he's leaving as one of the senior members, hard to believe. He too has served his community well, and his contributions have truly made a difference. Congratulations to the incoming council members. You are now part of the leadership team. And Mr. Mayor, that's team with a capital T. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. The individuals that actually signed up to speak as citizens to be heard. Would anyone else like to address council that didn't get a chance to sign on earlier? Okay. All right. Okay, let's proceed on then with our business for this evening. There's going to be 5 no tabs actually to begin with. One is to consider Resolution 950-2023. It's a resolution canvassing the vote for the May 6, 2023 general election, declaring the candidates elected and requiring the oath of office.
Yes, sir. Kind of in a hole back there.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The general election for the purpose of electing 3 council members was held on Saturday, May 6, 2023. The election was duly and legally held in conformity with the election laws of the state of Texas, and the results of the said election have been verified and returned to us by Bexar County Judge and Clerks. With that being said, the results of the election are as follows. Ashton Bulman, 586 votes. Christina Fitzpatrick, 716 votes. Bernard Regal, 506 votes. Richard Dick Neville, 462 votes. S. Barrett Goolsby, 591 votes. Richard Edwards, 340 votes. With that being said, the candidates who were elected by the qualified voters of the city of Universal City was Christina Fitzpatrick, again 716 votes. S. Barrett Goolsby, 591 votes. And Ashton Bowman, 586 votes. So you need to vote.
We do need to have a motion to approve. Second motion. Shelby? Discussion, anyone? All right, vote please. Please, Maribel.
Was it Neville?
Neville, yes, and then Shelby.
Mayor Pro Tem Neville?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelby?
Aye.
Councilmember Buck?
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby?
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. congratulations to our newly elected members, and we'll have a swearing in a couple of minutes. This is the tradition that we have here every year during election time. So now it's the bittersweet moment for me, representing council, to say goodbye to our two individuals that are leaving council before we welcome our new members. So I would like to have Mr. Shelby, would you join me down here? I could use a stool, but I'm standing next to him. I could make him kneel. No. Okay. As I say, this is the bittersweet moment when we say goodbye to someone who has served us so faithfully for the last, actually, about 10 years. He was on our Planning and Zoning Commission, came and volunteered to be a part of that. He'd been a volunteer in a lot of activities that we've been doing for a long, long period of time in Universal City, and it's been a pleasure to know him. And he's had 4 terms now as a council person. And I can tell you that he is really well prepared at all council meetings. When he makes a statement, he knows that he has looked at everything. He has got himself really well prepared, and he followed in his daddy's footsteps. His dad, Rob, right over here, was a council member from 1984 to 1986. So this was a great opportunity for the legacy to continue with the Shelby family, and it's been a pleasure to work with Wade for such a long time. Before we have your stuff, I would like to, if you would like to present these two glasses. Oh. Alexis, come on up here.
I'm not fresh for
They can
this.
salute.
He said I didn't have to.
Well, I'm going to make you do it anyway. I'm going to make you do it. Listen, the people behind the scenes that do a lot of support are the women and the men that support everybody else, right? And so this is a great opportunity for you to say thank you to Alexis for what she's done, and the two of them have a great team together, and I want you to present those shoulders. We really actually go pretty far back. Rob and I were coaches and referees for YMCA when they were playing youth basketball at Kitty Hawk Middle School when, well, about this small. My son is only about this small compared to William. But so our time together goes back quite a long way. So I just wanted to be able to say thank you, William, for your dedication and service to us. There are certain things that he really enjoys. And I think you'll see why these presents are going to work pretty well for him.
Yeah.
Look at this. Take a look at that. You know what this is, right, everyone?
Nope. What is it?
This is the Millennium Falcon.
Star Wars. Okay, and here's the other part. It actually has a pen set for you. And we try to say goodbye to our council people we're giving them something that will be memorable for them. And I think this is hopefully going to be memorable for you.
It'll be great. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy.
I can't believe it's been 8 years. It's been an outstanding experience doing this for the last 8 years. It's been a humbling experience. When I first ran, I had no idea. I had no idea that I would actually get elected and that people would trust me to represent them. As a kid who grew up in the city, I mean, literally grew up in the city, and spent a lot of time at the fire department. My dad was the assistant fire chief at the time. Later joined the fire department. Watching the city grow and what it's become today, and then getting to be a part of where it went, where it's going, and where it continues to go for the last 8 years. I've got to work with some really amazing people in the city. Ms. Turner, Mr. Taylor, Randy, Kristen. I know Aileen's not here, but I remember Aileen. Pat Collins. Worked with a lot of really amazing people that come in here and they do this every day. As you know, their job, and they put their hearts into it, and to be able to work with them through all that we've done for the last years. It's been an outstanding experience, and I'm really glad I got to be a part of it. And then I'm also really glad I got to work with everybody up here and everybody who's been up here before, Tom Maxwell and Tom England as well. It's been an amazingly educational experience. I think I've said it before, sitting in the audience and reading the agenda from time to time is one thing. Sitting on the other side of this podium or this dais is a completely different experience when you're thinking about what decision to make and how to make it, and do I have all the information I need, and am I missing anything, because the decisions that are made up here are very important. I'll leave you with one thing. Have fun. Where'd he go? He left. Stole my line. I've been thinking about that all week. Make a paper airplane and throw it across the dais once in a while. Seriously. We spend a lot of time up here. There's a lot of effort that goes into the decisions, like I said, and if you can't enjoy it, you can't have a little smile here and there, maybe get a little trouble by the mayor for talking when you shouldn't. I strongly recommend you do that. Good luck to everybody. Congratulations to everybody who's been elected. Christina, Ashton, you guys have a lot going in front of you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Blue yonder as he gets his pilot's license. Anytime. He's going to be mapping for us over the city. Okay, Dick, come on down here.
Oh, I do need to take this one.
While Mr. Neville is on his way down, I'm going to throw some numbers at you that might be astounding of Dick and the relationship that I've had with him since the late 60s. So Dick Neville and I go that far back. I was the first lieutenant, he was a tech sergeant at Randolph Air Force Base. And so we go back that far. So this is really a bittersweet moment for me because I've had a chance to work with Dick for many, many years in many different kinds of capacities, just as I had with William. You know, Dick is, and I'm not in any particular order, but I think the first thing we want to do is give your bride this well. Sure. You think so? Carol, can you come up, or you want me to bring back to you?
Do you want him to bring you something, or you want to
Yes,
go up and
ma'am.
get it? You can bring it to me. I'm going to carry that.
Well, I'll tell you what. You want to look at him, and I'll put him back up there? Here, now, here's your. So I can give it a hug. All right, ready for some numbers? And just a couple of things about Dick. He's very loyal to his God, to his family, to his country, to his city. Let me tell you some significant things for him. Dick has been a deacon in the Catholic Church for 48 years. I remember going to his 25th anniversary of your diaconate. It was out at Randolph Air Force Base, the same place where Dick and I had met many years before that. Family, wife Carol, 5 children, 10 grandchildren.
All girls.
Yeah, 10 grandchildren, and how about this? 12 great-grandchildren and 1 on the way. Yeah. Right, there's another number for you, okay? He spent 33 years serving his country, the United States Air Force, and retired as a Chief Master Sergeant. And any of us that ever served in the military know that El Jefes are the guys that run the Air Force. There's no doubt about it, the chiefs. Okay, he had the privilege of serving in council from 1994 to 2007, and then was reelected in 2007 and term until today. So that's a lot of years serving his family, his country, his God. And we owe him a great debt of gratitude. I have another personal relationship with Dick. He presided at the wedding of my daughter, and he's also baptized, I think, 3 or 4 of my grandchildren. So, you know, we have a personal relationship with the Neville family as well. So, you know he's not going away. He's been very active also he was active from 1997 till the present on our economic development. It's called the Industrial Development Corporation back then. Now it's called the Economic Development Corporation. And Dick has been a member of that for many, many years and has served faithfully. He's been the treasurer, so he's been the money man, has really helped keep IDC and now EDC working, right?
My pockets are empty.
Your pockets are totally empty. It's totally empty. So I think that's all about all the numbers that we have. So what I want to give them is a very special little special tribute here. A couple of things. This one says, presented to Richard Dick Neville, 26 years of service to University City Council, 15 years as Mayor Pro Tem, 11 years as council member. In recognition of your dedicated service, hard work, and leadership style. Dick, thank you very much, buddy. It's just starting. I'll read you what this says on here and then we'll show it to you. It says, Richard Dick Neville, well done, my good and faithful servant. Matthew 25 and 23. And it's a very commemorative bookmark, and I think this guy's a Jeffrey Streaver, so if you want to take a look at that, that's a very special way that we can say thank you. And some of the what you've done for your family and your God and your country and your city can't be understated. We're just so proud to have been able to work with you, Dick. I can call you a very close friend. Thank you very much. Say a couple of things.
Well, I don't like to speak, but I have to because as a deacon I have to give sermons. Well, I actually don't give sermons, I give homilies. Homilies are short, 8 minutes. Sermons, you know, sometimes 2 hours long. And you don't get accomplished anything when you do 2 hours of talking and no hours of listening. It's been a privilege, I'll tell you, it's been a real privilege. You know, but the one who gives me the permission to do it is the one that sits back there. She gives up her time with me that I can serve my God, as John said, my city, my family, my country. And one of the greatest things I ever did, some of you may not agree with me, but back in 94, 95, EDC had just gotten the vote from the citizens to get sales tax. And so the 7 of us who proposed that had to choose an executive director. The only one who gets paid. And the president at that time said, well, you know, I think this is going to be a simple job. Maybe last 4 or 5 years. And so maybe 20 hours a week. So maybe we can find someone who is willing to work 20 hours a week for $20 an hour. At that time, I was still a teacher at St. Mary's University. And I was the faculty advisor for the non-traditional students who compose those who are married, divorced, have children, climbed up out of the 18, 19, and 20 we wrote from this. And this young lady here, Kim Turner, happened to be the president when I took over faculty advisorship. And she was my president for 2 years. Of course, she went on to get graduated. She had jobs all over the city with her husband, particularly. And so when it came up time to get people to come and say, I would like to have this job, I called Kim. I said, yeah. The president said it's an easy job, probably last 3 or 4 years. Would you like to apply? And she said she did. Well, believe it or not, she got the job. So today, I don't take credit for what she did, because she did it herself. But she started at the bottom here, she worked herself all the way up to city manager. Kim Taylor was the one who trained her in that job, and she has done, many of you may not think so, but she has done far more than you'll ever know for this city. I call her a friend, a close friend. I thank you all for letting me be part of this community for so many years. I'm the only one of the 10 city council members I still think so, that lives inside Route 1604. So that is to me, that's significant, because everybody else lives in the nice neighborhood. But one thing I am for, if it ever stops raining, if it stops getting cold, Randy has promised me that the wagon crossing park will be finished. It's looking great. A lot of the stuff is in, but the groundwork has still got to be done. And I can't wait for that to happen. And so all of you, and you know, another person that keeps us all straight is the city council. Without their expertise, we could get ourselves in a lot of trouble. And all those who are still serving, congratulating people on serving, action, God bless you. Let you go up here and
Christina.
I forgot your name. How is that possible?
It's Christina.
Yes, I knew him when he grew up. I knew his dad was a chief master sergeant also. And he grew up to be a great guy. Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to give a little thought. I think my 7 minutes are up.
Here, let me leave this back here. Dick, I'll get your coat. Thank you. You got his coat back? Just get one in. Like this, no, I want you to look one in. And he's going here for all, thank you. Thank you, William. Thank you, Dick, for your dedicated service to your city. It's been a pleasure to work with you for all these years. You'll be missed, but I know you're not going away. We're glad of that. All right, let's move on to the next item. The next no-tab item is to administer the oath of office to the newly elected candidates. So would Ashton, Christina, Eric, please come on down there, because Judge Stubblefield is going to do something very special. And come on up here.
Indeed, my privilege and honor to be able to administer the oath this evening as a municipal judge. After administering the oath, each one of you will need to sign it. It goes to the Secretary of State. The city clerk sends it there. And there's also an additional sheet to sign saying there's no conflict of interest. If you'll each raise your right hand and then repeat after me when I ask you for your name. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I,
Mayor Goolsby.
And Fitzpatrick, sorry. Ashton Bulman.
okay, do solemnly swear
Do solemnly
swear
that I will faithfully exercise
that
I will faithfully exercise
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of council member of the city of Universal City
of council member of the city of Universal City
of the state of Texas
of the state of Texas
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. I had to do it in short sentences. I couldn't remember.
Here, no, even my back page, but not my correct one. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's try that again.
Okay. Well, I notice they say the price is right, come on down, but come on up and sit.
In my water cup.
Welcome.
Christine, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Newly elected candidates, now they are officially council people from University City, and we're proud to have you up here to join us as we execute the responsibilities of making this the best city in the United States. We believe it. Hope you do too. All right, our next item is to elect the Mayor Pro Tem to serve for a period of 1 year. This is a traditional thing after the new council is appointed. They come on board, and among them, they nominate and they make that decision all by themselves. I have nothing to do with the council. The staff has nothing to do with this. This is strictly up to our 6 council members now. They're the ones that, it's up to you now. Open it up for anybody, any nomination? Yes.
I would like to nominate Councilmember Najarian.
Okay, there's a nomination there, Mr. Najarian.
And I would like to probably nominate Councilmember Mayor Goolsby.
You have to be willing to accept the nomination. Would you be willing to accept the nomination? Would you be willing to accept the nomination? Okay, so any other nominations? Okay, so the first person nominated, Pastor nominated Mr. Najarian. And this is an open vote. This is not a closed ballot or any secret ballot. So just the majority take it that. So who would like to vote for Mr. Najarian? 2 members, okay?
3.
Oh, 3, okay. And then for Mr. Goolsby? Let me tell you something. In the 15 years I have served here, I've broken a tie maybe 5 times in the entire time I've been up here. But I think what I'm going to do this evening is I'm going to vote on the behavior of Mr. Goolsby. Okay, congratulations, Mayor. Yes, sir. What the Mayor Pro Tem does also, obviously, is serve on my behalf at various functions that maybe I cannot attend, and sometimes that would recommend that he did, like Mr. Neville clearly represented the council and me at various committees, because you can only serve on so many, so many hours of the day. So we'll work together on that. And so I promise you it won't take an overwhelming amount of time.
Appreciate it.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, we're done with that. Let's move now to our next item. It's another no tab, number 4. It's a presentation of the 2024 San Antonio River Authority, SARA, Salatorio wastewater wholesale rate and impact fees. So let me turn it over to Ms. Turner, and you're going to introduce her, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Anderson, he is the general manager of the San Antonio River Authority, and
The Deputy Director of Utilities. I don't want to go too high.
in my eyes, he's the general manager because he's always told us what to do all the time. I'll just go with that. Absolute excellent man in the position that he's in. So we have 2 presentations. First is the San Antonio wastewater wholesale rate, and then after that we will have the similar presentation from the Cibolo Creek.
So again, I'm Lehman Anderson. I'm the Deputy Director of Utility Operations for the San Antonio River Authority. This is my 2nd time visiting you. I did this about the same time last year. I've been with the River Authority for almost 2 years now. Prior to that, I spent several years with the San Antonio Water System. So for those of you that aren't familiar, San Antonio River Authority, we provide wholesale treatment to partner cities, including Universal City, Live Oak, Converse at our Salatorio wastewater plant. We also do the same thing for Schurz and Green Valley at another plant that's out off Graytown Road on the further east side of town. The Salatorio wastewater plant is located on Rocket Lane across from Judson Middle School. It's currently a wastewater treatment plant that can treat up to 5.8 million gallons per day. We do have 3 wholesale partners, like I mentioned, but we also have a retail system that's directly connected to our system where we not only treat, but we also maintain the collection systems. We refer to our partners as wholesale because you maintain your own collection system and we provide the treatment for that wastewater. So the first slide, and again, just to kind of bring everybody up to speed, when we come to you at this time every year, we are presenting our proposed treatment rates for our fiscal year of 24. Our fiscal year starts July 1st. So about February of every year, we begin to prepare our budget. We reach out to our partners. We get the winter averages for your communities. That helps us know kind of average flows that we expect to see at our plant. Also helps us plan revenue, balance that against expenses, so on and so forth. So this slide is actually the FY23 that we're currently in. This was the slide that was presented to you last year, showing our fiscal year 23 rates and that rate increase, and showing those rates above and beyond. The reason why we wanted to bring this slide back to you today because we thought it was important this year to continue this multi-year plan that we had brought to you several years ago, which involves the funding of the expansion of the Solid Trio wastewater plant, any increases to our operations and maintenance. So biggest takeaway from here is that we're trying to stay the course with what we have provided to you in the past few years. So we were projecting a monthly charge for 5,000 gallon average. This is just a constant variable that we're using. It would be definitely dependent upon each home's individual winter average. But what that looks like for this year is a rate of $30.13. So it's about 13 cents different from what we projected last year. So again, wanted to make sure that the plans that we brought to you over the last few years with those increases, that we stayed as true to that as we possibly could. So this is just a snapshot for those partner cities. I just mentioned a winter average constant of 5,000 gallons. That really just gives us a placeholder to calculate. When we reach out to the cities in February and March to get your actual winter averages, what you see in that third column from the left, the winter average that's provided by each city. Universal City, based on what you provided this year, your residents are using roughly 200 more gallons per month in those winter average months, which is 3 consecutive months between the months of November and March. That tends to be when homeowners use the least amount of water because there's no irrigation. So common industry standard is to take those 3 consecutive months and use that to figure out your wastewater rate for the entire year. So based on that percentage change, it's a dollar change, or excuse me, a amount change of about $3.06 to the average bill based on that 4,988 gallons. A lesser winter average would see a lesser, a higher winter average obviously would see a higher increase there as well. So what I mentioned in the last couple of slides is that we wanted to stay the course for what we presented to you over the last several years. But one thing we are changing this year, we're entering into right now, is a contract with a financial firm called Baker Tilly. They are going to come in over about the next 3 or 4 months and do a heavy review of our capital improvement plan, look at our debt issuances that we've had in the past, look at our projected revenues, make sure that is all on track with the capital plans and the O&M that we expect over the next several years. They'll also be looking at our rate model. It's been about 10 years or so since we've dove into that and see again if it meets industry standards, if the rates that we're projecting are enough to fund our operations and maintenance, our capital plan. So they're going to dive into that for us. So we should have some recommendations from them early fall. We're thinking sometime in September, the end of September. So again, a full-blown review of basically all of our finances for our utility group at the River Authority. Real quick before I get to that, one thing we're also looking at is, I can't quite get into names right now because we're still in the negotiation phase, but we are looking at a consultant to come in and do kind of an economic review of our area, talk about development trends, things that they're seeing with TxDOT, similar cities and organizations in the state of Texas and the nation, how they're balancing some of these growth projections and economic explosions, if you will, in our area. So we're hoping that that will help tie into this financial review so that we know what's coming over the next years, the next decades, and we can be prepared for that as well. So,
It's the board itself. Sorry
Thank you,
about
no problem. So the Solid Trio wastewater plant, that is probably a few months old, that picture on the left-hand side, but that's that plant that I mentioned where your wastewater flows along with Converse and Live Oak. We are expanding that plant from 5.8 million gallons of treatment capacity per day to 7.33. That will be the final build out of that plant. It was a progressive design build project. We are expecting substantial completion of part of that project here within the next couple of months. I wouldn't necessarily say right now this project has been plagued by delays, but we are seeing some delays mostly on the electrical side with backup generators, transfer gears, similar things which you may hear from other organizations or contractors in the area. But we do still expect this plant to be finally completed. The increased capacity at the end of this year and the other rehab projects about this time in 2024. So it was roughly a $33 million expansion, but it allows us that additional capacity and rehab of those current processes that are online now. So over the next couple of years, additional projects going on is 2 additional clarifiers, which are one of the treatment processes. We will be rehabbing those. Those are not the ones that are being added right now for the additional capacity. Replacing other electrical gear, our motor control centers, and then over the next few years after that, looking at improvements to the administrative building and our lab building there, which of course does some of the basic testing of the wastewater to make sure that the processes are working as they should. So our next steps, and before I go through both of those steps that we've taken kind of to get to this point, so we've met with all of our wholesale partners over the last couple of weeks. I was at the City of Live Oaks council meeting last week. I'll be leaving here and going to Converse. We've met also with the Real Estate Council of San Antonio, the Greater Builders Association of San Antonio. We have a group that we refer to as our Utilities Development Advisory Committee. That's made up of 12 representatives. Mr. Ken Taylor actually sits on that committee starting this year. We brought the same information to them. We give them updates on our capital projects, update on our rates, updates on our standard specification, just to kind of get information from ratepayers, information from developers, from the building community that kind of feed into all of these decisions. So those have been ongoing over the last few weeks. And our next steps, we do have briefings that we are giving to our board. We gave them one last week on this process. We'll be giving them another one tomorrow. But moving forward, they would adopt the rates at our board meeting on June 21st. And any feedback that I receive from any of those groups that we've met with has been presented to them or will be presented to them when that feedback arrives. And if that budget is adopted on June 21st, these rates that we're discussing today would go into effect on October the 1st, which matches with your fiscal years.
Any questions for Mr. Anderson?
Anyway, specific, again, this is discussion only, so if you have anything that jumped out at you, return the presentation. Yes, Mr. Vaughan.
So that's about your capital improvement plan. So the plant, is it, once it's completed, do you foresee that handling all the growth in the area, or do you see another expansion needed down the road?
With, I would say, the limited growth, we're not expecting huge developments that would then tie into that plant. It should be, we should be at the max for that capacity and should be able to treat the foreseeable growth that we have. Now, we do anticipate years down the road that some of this equipment will need to be either repaired or rehabbed, or new technologies that may come into place, different things that may come from TCEQ that we're required to put in. We are putting bookmarks, if you will, down the road, just as a placeholder to make sure that we have the funding capacity to take care of those if they do come to fruition. But as far as capacity, we should be fine with that 7.33.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Giant.
I'm sorry, and I didn't quite hear it all, but you would mention the generators are
That's been on the 2 plant expansions that we have ongoing right now. Solid Trio and our what we call our Martinez 4 plant is also under expansion. That's the biggest holdup that we've had right now are the large generators that TCEQ requires that we have on site to handle if power goes down.
It's a supply chain issue?
It has been, yes. Yes, they've been Solid Trio expansion, not affected as much as the other expansion that we have, but it's probably the better part of a year behind what we would consider final completion. Now, we're able to bring some of those treatment processes online, but technically we can't say that the project is finished unless we have backup power on site.
Thank you.
And again, this is just discussion, and we're again, it's Live Oak, Converse, and us are part of this whole process. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, maybe if I can just bring it all together, and I apologize. I sometimes forget that we have new people. This may be your first time at the dais hearing this. So as you know, we're getting ready to have our budget meeting, and everybody knows the date, right? July 12th, you have it on your calendar, it's great. So for that particular meeting, what you're going to be hearing is you're going to be hearing the rate study for the city of Universal City. So when we do our rate study, what we do is we go back and we give to our consultant, what is it that SARA is proposing for an increase? What is it that CCMA is proposing for an increase? We meld that together, we add it in with all the CIP products and projects and everything else that we're going to do, and that's how we come up with our 5-year plan and how we know what our anticipated rate will be for the next 5 years. So we have to have their information early enough so that we can give you the pertinent information when July 12th comes.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to tab number 5 then. That's the presentation on the 2024 Cibolo Creek Municipal Authority CCMA rate and impact.
I'm going to get it right this time. This is Clint Ellis. He is the general manager of CCMA.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Appreciate y'all having me out. Let's see if I can. Okay. So again, I'm with Cibolo Creek Municipal Authority. We provide the wholesale wastewater service to roughly the eastern half of your city, east of Pat Booker. Much shorter presentation. I'll try to go into some detail, and if I'm going too quick, please stop it. So what we've tried to do with our rates over the last few years is match the rate of inflation. We failed miserably. We had several years ago presented a series of rate increases to the council. This next year, fiscal year 24, no change. So what we're looking at is sticking with the 1.9% increase, 8 cents per thousand increase we had presented to the council a few years ago. What we're proposing for the following 2 fiscal years, 25 and 26, are another pair of 2% increases, 1.9 and 2.1. An 8 cent increase for fiscal year 25, 9 cent increase for fiscal year 26. So our rates have stabilized. We don't have any huge projects. We feel we need to raise rates to issue debt for in the near future. We are essentially just using growth to pay for some of our increased cost of service. These increases will pay for the rest. The FY24 should cost the average homeowner approximately 40 cents per month. That's what the new increase would cost. Total increases for the 3 years would be $1.25, and that's based on, again, similar to SARA, a 5,000 gallon winter water average. This is the impact to Universal City per residential connection. We built based on actual water consumption for commercial and industrial. Currently, you're paying $20.65 per home. This coming fiscal year, it goes up to $21.05. Fiscal year 25 goes to $21.45. Finally, in 26 goes to $21.90. This is a comparison we put together of some of our other local, I don't want to say competitors, some of the other utilities in the area. Shows you where y'all stand. Y'all are very competitive compared to a lot of the local communities. Sauls, I think, actually had a rate decrease this year. 3220 would be the only one that got underneath y'all at 4066, and that's for your average homeowner. That includes both the CCMA charge and the Universal City charge for the Universal City, for the CCMA portion of y'all system. So, very short presentation. I can go into much further detail if y'all want, answer questions.
Again, this will be coming back to us in an official capacity as we go through the budget process. Anybody specific questions? Very good.
I'm also on the agenda for impact fees. I don't have anything official yet. We use a slightly different process than y'all use. We don't use Chapter 395 for a water district. We use the TCEQ approval process. We're in the closing stages of an approval to increase our impact fees for the first time since, I think, 2007, 2008. We're going from $1,800 per LUE to $2,200 per LUE. Sir?
What's an LUV?
I'm sorry, living unit equivalency. So a single family residence. Sorry, acronyms.
So impact fees are for new development. So if a single family residential connects to the sanitary system, on the CCMA side, then they would be paying $2,200 impact fee just for that connection. SARA did not mention it, but they actually are raising their impact fee. It is $3,200 right now, and theirs is going to $5,000. But their board hasn't yet approved it, so we're anticipating $5,000 on their side. And that's a one-time fee.
And again, my board hasn't approved it yet. This is just what we've submitted to ECT. We're in very end stages of that. We're also decreasing the gallons per living unit equivalent from 245 to 155. So we'll have a little bit more impact on commercial and industrial.
Anybody? All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
I just had a ding on my watch. If you're a Spurs fan, they've got the #1 pick in the lottery. They just got awarded the #1 pick. So this French phenom may end up being a superstar for like David Robinson was and Tim Duncan. See, great news, right? Yeah. Okay, let's move on now to tab number C, everyone. Discuss and consider ordinance 361-AE-2023. It's an ordinance amending ordinance 361 in chapter 1-4 finance article 4 section 1-4-40 schedules fees and charges for library services of the code of ordinances, revising certain sections and paragraphs accordingly, providing severability and setting an effective date. This is our first reading on this one. Ms. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We haven't had a chance to look at the library fees in a while, but when COVID hit and we went to some unusual hours at the library, we recognized at that time it was kind of hard for people to get their books and items back to us. So we, at that time, forewent the nickel and dime that we had for our late fees and actually haven't picked those back up since then. The library staff has been looking at the fees that they charge. They would like to go the same course as a lot of the libraries are going, and that is not charge people for late fees. But what they will do is if they don't return the book after 9 weeks or it comes back damaged, then they'll charge them for the price of the book plus $5 processing. And so they are proposing some of those fees. We've got the fax fees in there. We've got the card replacement. We also went to the swipe card at the library for the activity room. It used to be a key, but you know, those cards cost us money, and if people don't bring them back, we have to charge them from them because we have to buy new ones to replace them. And or if they don't bring them back, other people can't use the room. So what you have before you is the new fee schedule, and the staff is recommending approval.
Okay, anybody have anything to jump out at them while they were looking at the proposed fees? I think they were fair enough. Yes,
I just had a question. So in there it talks about how if you're a non-Texas resident, it's a $15 fee. I couldn't find anywhere after looking for a bit, but can the military and their dependents without a Texas license still get a free library card?
Yes, they can. So all they have to do is they have to show, like if they bought a house, they can show that, or if they have a utility bill at a house in San Antonio or Texas, or if they have their rent. So a non-resident doesn't necessarily mean that you're a temporary Texas. So sometimes we get people who are traveling through, maybe they're here for a month or so, and they'd like to use the library and all the things, but they don't intend to stay. Those are the non-residents. Anybody else, if you have a place that you're staying at long-term for a year, they can get a resident card.
So if you're on base,
you still get a resident card.
You'll still get a resident
card. A Texas address on base.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks.
it's an interesting point. I don't know if you're all aware that the people that live on base at Randolph have a 78148 mailing address. We can't claim them for any other reason, but they do have a 78148 Universal City address. But the business offices, the buildings there where they all work, that's Randolph Air Force Base 78150. So, yeah. Good. Thank you. Yes, Christine?
When I was reading it, I had the question of how long a book could be lost or not turned in before it was lost. You said 90 days, I think.
Actually, it's 9 weeks. So when you check a book out, you get 3 weeks, and then it should come back. And then if it doesn't come back, then you get the letter saying, hey, your book's overdue. And sometimes people like to check them out for another 3 weeks, or maybe they'll say, can I have it for another 3 weeks? And so we can give them another 3 weeks. But if they don't respond, and then in 3 weeks we send them another letter, and they don't respond, then at 9 weeks, we send them the bill for the book or the DVD or whatever it is that they happen to purchase, plus the $5 processing fee.
Is there value in adding the 9-week language into the?
We can add 9 weeks. Actually, I beg your pardon. So coming up, I think at the next council meeting or the one after, Megan's still looking at it, we have a circulation policy coming, and in there, it indicates the 9-week period.
Okay. As long as it's documented somewhere, I think
In the
that would be
document,
great.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Paul.
And on that subject as well, instead of the 5 cents or 10 cents fee, if they don't return the book, we send them a letter and get to the point where we say, okay, you owe us this much money for the book, give them the $5 processing fee, and they just decide they don't want to do it. Do we have any recourse on that, or is it kind of?
So yeah, we always continue to follow through on those. Thankfully, most people are very good and do pay for the price of the book. I think it's the $5 processing fee, which is really the new item on there. So lost or damaged books. We have some books, we did it when we moved to our library, that they weren't returned, but we had carried that for 20 years that book hadn't been returned. And what we did at that particular time is we identified all of the items that hadn't been returned, and the council wrote it off as bad debt. Not a process we do very often in the library because most things do get returned. And you have to remember when somebody gets their library information, we do have copies of their driver's license as well, so we have some means of contact with them.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is this going to be posted at the library? Like, obviously when everybody signs up for their library card, they have to agree to the terms and conditions of having it. As they come back now to rent to borrow a new book, will they be informed of the policy change and have to sign a new agreement or anything like that?
I don't know if they'll have to sign a new agreement. We'll have to wait and see what the circulation policy is, but certainly when somebody sets up their account, they'll be given the new policy. But I'll advise the staff that they have these little clear things that they put at the checkout stand. That's probably the most appropriate place to put that.
Yeah, kind of draw everybody's attention
Yes.
to it, say, hey, we've changed our policies.
Move to approve.
Motion made by
Second.
Councilmember Goolsby, second by Councilmember Vaughan. Discussion further? All right, call for the vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan,
Aye.
Councilmember Buck,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman,
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
That motion passes. We'll move on now. We're going to have a series of public hearings coming up in a minute here. They're all related to the same activity, but one is related to a future land use plan, one is related to zoning changes and flood. So you'll hear all that. But one major presentation. I'll go ahead and let the city make their presentation, and then we'll open it up for the public hearing, and you can have a chance to comment, and then we'll move on. So the next series that we're going to have here is all related to this particular item. Okay, Mike, here you go.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're going to identify the location of this property first for everyone. This is a 29.5-acre property off of 1604 and 3rd. And so 1604 is here. We've got Kitty Hawk here. Bird Street is here. And so we're talking about just south of Bird. Zoom in there. So that's really the property that we're talking about right now. Pull up. Okay. Okay. All right, so as I mentioned, this is a 29.5-acre vacant unsubdivided tract. A PUD or planned unit development is being proposed. The applicant is Alamo Storage, LLC. I just want to point out, this is the overall site plan. There are 5 primary lots and a lot 901, which is open space. And the reason why that was carved out is that it's located in the AQ zone. So in order to move forward, the applicant is requesting a future land use plan amendment from HC Highway Commercial and GC General Commercial to HC Highway Commercial and HBR High Density Residential. A zone change from C5 Highway Commercial and C4 General Commercial to PUD 2023-103 District. A preliminary and final PUD approval, and a preliminary plat of subdivision approval. The final plat will have to come back to Planning Commission for final approval at a later date once they work out all the issues with TxDOT. And we'll leave it to that throughout the presentation. So staff started working with the applicant back in June of 2021, so it's been a couple of years. They've gone through several iterations. They had to work through some issues. And so we originally talked about density, setbacks, access, buffering adjacent neighbors, which isn't really a big issue in this location, architectural design, and building materials. In November of 2022, they did come back to City Council and made a concept level presentation. They did receive positive feedback overall. Some specifics on the project. As I mentioned, there are 5 primary lots. Lot 1, which is at the corner of Frontage Road and Bird, is designated for commercial retail. Within Langley, it will be a drive-through type restaurant or a small multi-tenant center. Lot 2 is identified for a self-storage facility, and that's 2 acres. Lot 3 is just to the north. This is the largest piece. That is approximately just under 12 acres, and an apartment complex is being proposed. 291 units, 529 parking spaces, which does meet the underlying zoning code. Various amenities, a clubhouse, pool, dog park. Exterior building materials are a combination of stone and brick veneer, fiber cement panels, and architectural shingles. The highest point of the buildings are going to be 55 feet. Internal pedestrian path connecting to a larger network. So one of the things that we talked about with them initially was we wanted them to provide for internal, within the PUD itself, pedestrian connectivity, but also external connectivity, because across the street, we'd like these folks to be able to easily access, get across Bird, and then walk or ride their bikes to H-E-B or Walmart. So they have provided some internal access that will allow the residents there to get across the street and use the larger path system. As I mentioned, lot 901 to the north was carved out, and that is green space, so there will not be any development there. Other development regulations, it's 85% maximum impervious coverage for all property. The multifamily component per the PUD ordinance is required to have 30% common open space, and they are providing 37%, so they meet that requirement. They're going to provide decorative fencing, fronting Loop 1604 and Bird, so we want to make sure that there's nice looking fencing that is going to be from the public streets. Shielded or downward lighting will be provided, and then landscaping. There are various minimums that are required depending on the location and the type, the use type of the lot itself. Signage, the multifamily component, the apartments, will have 2 monument signs, a 12-foot maximum measured from street grade. No pole signs for the apartment complex. The other lots will be allowed to have 1 pole sign each. Approval standards are part of the PUD process. The applicant is required to address those standards. Those are included in the packet, and so they have addressed those. We sent out 12 legal notices, and we did not receive any responses. And then traffic. I wanted to just briefly go over some of the traffic items. So the applicant did have a consultant perform a traffic impact analysis, and the TIA states that it's not expected to have a significant operational impact on the surrounding roadway system. AM and PM peak hours, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour at night, just the heaviest traffic. That will generate 276 AM peak hour trips and 288 PM peak hour trips. Now this is for the entire development, all different uses on all lots. In the morning, the AM can be broken down 116 trips, 28 entering and 88 exiting. The PM 148 trips, 93 entering, and 55 exiting. So what I want to do is I just want to show the traffic patterns. So two primary concerns. One is for trucks, and because these two lots 4 and 5, are designated for warehousing, and so it's going to be a lot of truck traffic that's going to be going there. And so there's truck traffic, and then we're going to have the multifamily, which is going to generate a significant amount of residential traffic. So there are multiple ways to get to this site, to and from, but really what we're really concerned about is the access to 1604 and frontage road as it's currently configured. Okay, so what we've done here is just create a quick little schematic diagram that identifies the different paths that people will take. So this is for the residential component. Scenario 1 is southbound via Kitty Hawk, UC Boulevard, and Burke. So these little red diamonds you'll see just follow the path, and they identify how folks coming southbound are going to get to the site. So going down Kitty Hawk Road, UC Boulevard, they'll take a right, and they'll take a right on Bird and enter the apartment complex. The second option for folks going southbound, and I do not have the horns anymore, it's just 1604, and then they loop around, they do the turnaround, get onto Frontage Road, and then they can take a right onto Bird Boulevard. The next item is people coming northbound, they're going to have to go over the overpass, and they're going to have to go up to Kitty Hawk Road, again, take a right on Kitty Hawk, UC Boulevard, and then take a right on Bird. And then the last option for folks that will likely live at Randolph, they'll probably go straight up Pat Booker, and they'll take a left on Bird, and this is the last time. And it's a straight shot to the apartment complex. Okay, so that's for the apartments. For exiting in the morning, or in the evening if they're leaving, more than likely, they have multiple ways. They can go take a right on Bird and go up UC Boulevard, or they can get onto Frontage Road and get to Kitty Hawk. The next item is for truck traffic. And so this is pretty significant. We would like to have a similar situation that an arrangement that we have with Walmart. We want to keep the semi-trucks off of the interior of the city-owned roads as much as possible. So the designated route for the truck traffic getting to lots 4 and 5, the warehousing lots, will follow this pathway. So southbound trucks will have to go down 1604, and they're going to have to use the turnaround and then come right up to either of those two lots. Northbound traffic on 1604 will have to go over the overpass, and they're going to have to do a turnaround at Kitty Hawk, come back down, and do another loop to get there. And so, let me pull up the reasons why that's relevant. Let's see. So currently, this is the configuration, the current configuration for 1604 and Frontage Road. So right now, the way it's configured, the only access to Bird is from Frontage Road. So there's another access point. So this top line here is Frontage Road. And again, here's that loop from Frontage Road. You can take a safe right on Bird. The other exit, the off-ramp, drops you off right at the intersection, and the double white line shows that you cannot take a right-hand turn there. So if you're coming from southbound 1604, and you exit, you have to go to Kitty Hawk and navigate back. So that's the way it currently exists today. All right.
TxDOT has plans to improve that entire area, and this is TxDOT's plan. We layered on the proposed development, the PUD. This is a lot of information. It's really confusing. So what we did was we stripped away all the irrelevant stuff, and we simplified it. And so when this happens, again, frontage road, people will have access to the multiple driveways, the curb cuts for those various lots. They will also have an exit that will punch them out just before or right after the Lot 4 warehouse. So they'll have access to the retail as well as the self-storage. And so that's the design. And so that's why we put together that little presentation to show you the different access routes for both residential and truck traffic. Also wanted to point out that we did have the Retail Coach, which is a marketing analysis firm, conduct a market analysis for not only this property, this PUD, but also the properties across the street in Bird that are owned by the city and the EDC. And in a nutshell, what that market analysis conveyed is that these two properties should be master planned, which is what a PUD does. There should be mixed-use development. Those are the highest and best uses. And they should incorporate restaurants, more than likely fast casual, retail on the other city-owned, EDC-owned properties, multifamily, which this PUD has, potentially a Class A hotel, and office space and medical office. One of the things that they said, which was very interesting, is that post-COVID, and as a result of COVID, they said that 50% of the folks who used to travel into and work in San Antonio are no longer there. They're out in the suburbs. 50%, that's a significant amount. That's devastating for San Antonio itself. And as a result of that, all of those folks who are now closer to their homes in the suburbs, they need closer access to medical. So medical office is transitioning from the city or entering city to suburban types. And so there isn't any medical office proposed for this site, but possibly for the other PUD. And that's what we have. I have to answer any questions.
Well, here's the process. We'll open up the public hearing in a minute related to this discussion. This is for you to address your concerns or whatever you want to talk about. And after I close the public hearing, then it goes to council, and we have the opportunity then to ask questions and stuff too. So that's the process. We've got 3 public hearings. Again, this is for the future land use plan change. For the record, I do need to read this, so bear with me. Request for amendment to the future land use plan for approximately 29.5 acre tract located at the southeast corner of East Loop 1604 North Access Road and West Bird Boulevard. And there's a bunch of other numbers, don't worry about that. But it's from high HC Highway Commercial and GC General Commercial to HC Highway Commercial and HCR High Density Residential per zoning ordinance 581. So that's what this is. So I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing now at exactly 7:55. And would anyone else like to address council or anything on this? Yes, sir, Mr. Evans.
Do you need to come up or are you going to talk from here?
Well, please come on up because we're recording everything. Yes.
Okay. Where people are going to be coming off the freeway onto the service road, where if you follow the law and stay within the lines, before you can get into the right-hand lane of the service road, you've passed Bird. Some people lack the understanding or responsibility to follow the law, and they will shortcut because it's a truly convenience having to go all the way around when you're passing right by the street. Now we're going to add in retail, commercial, truck drivers, people going home, a lot more people in that area. I'd like to see some serious consideration to putting up something obnoxious and for real to keep people exiting the freeway in the proper lane before we have a serious accident and somebody gets hurt, not after. Because that's what's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna cut in short, and all it takes is two people not really paying attention and somebody gets killed. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else? All right, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:56. And
Mayor, the applicant does have a presentation. The applicant does have a presentation.
oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, yeah, hi. Hi. All right, let's go ahead. I'll close the public hearing. I'll temporarily close it. Let the applicant make their comments, and then if you want to make some comments on that, you may. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. My name is Rob Killen, a land use attorney with the law firm of Killen, Griffin, and Fairmont. Our address is 10101 Reunion Place in San Antonio. Appreciate the opportunity to come back before you. I've been in front of you, most of you before, but first let me congratulate the newly elected council members. My wife served on a small city, local small city council as well, so I appreciate what it took to get here and all of the work that you have going forward from tonight. So thank you for your service, and council members who are returning, thank you for the opportunity to present again. You've seen this a couple of times over the last couple of years. Is this my controller?
Yes.
It is, great, thank you so much. So what we're asking for, just as a reminder, and I appreciate that you have a full meeting tonight. You have several public hearings, you'll only hear from me once. We have the rest of our team scattered around here, so the council members have questions. The engineer, architect, developer, we can answer those questions that you might have. But we're just going to try and confine it to this one period so you can get through everything and we're not repeating ourselves.
Right.
We're requesting a planned unit development, which, as the council knows, is a zoning district. It is unlike other zoning districts. Typically with a zoning district, I ask for commercial zoning. It allows for a broad range of uses, and I can do this, 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 and this. Currently, we have C4 and C5 zoning, which allow for a broad range of uses on the property. But a planned unit development allows for mixed-use development. It also allows for a level of regulation of uses and building materials and layout that you wouldn't normally have in a base zoning district. So this is a great tool for cities to use, especially since the legislature stripped away a couple sessions ago your ability to regulate building materials. We can do that through the planned unit development because we're coming in, we're agreeing to what we can and can't do. It's a collaborative process, a great tool for planning. And so as a land use attorney, it's one of those things we like to look to. And as I mentioned to the Planning and Zoning Commission a couple of weeks ago, we do a lot of work in a lot of the cities around here. And your PUD ordinance is certainly much more detailed, requires many more steps than any other city in the area. So there's a high level of scrutiny here in Universal City that we don't see in other communities. So that's why it's taken a couple of years, but we're here today. And again, there'll be multiple bites of the apple as we continue to go through the process. But this is kind of a big final step in terms of the master planning. With all those preliminary comments, I'm going to go through this presentation. Mr. Casada did an amazing job of going through this. And so I'm not going to repeat his efforts, but I've got some pretty pictures at least to show you, the property is located. As I mentioned, we've got C4 and C5, which are intense commercial zoning districts on the property. We're requesting rezoning to planned unit development. The property, Mr. Casada's presentation showed how it lays out on the site. 6 phases, commercial, self-storage, the multifamily, 2 warehouse phases, and then the green space. You can see that the dark blue, kind of a purplish thing at the top, that's our green space. These colors are really not easy to identify. Kind of reddish orange in the middle, that's the multifamily. The light blue at the bottom is the mini stores. The yellow lower left-hand corner is the retail. And then the green is the warehouse. I don't know why they didn't put green for the open space and blue for the warehouse, but I wasn't in charge of the colors. This is how the site lays out. Mr. Casada showed this on his presentation. I won't repeat it. Mr. Casada also went through the number of units, the size, a little less than 12 acres, 290 units. We're asking for accessory buildings, a 5-foot setback. We'll comply with all other setbacks. Building height, a density of about 27 units per acre. That's what we're looking at. The word I always keep rolling around my tongue, cementitious siding, which architects understand, but it's our exterior masonry requirement. This is the layout for the multifamily. This is really more what you want to see, what it's going to look like. These are This is it shows 4-story, it's only 3 stories though, but it gives you a sense of the materials that are going to be used and how it will lay out. And this is what the council previously saw in our last time here. Also, we showed to P&Z 2 weeks ago. Commercial phase, to be determined, it's about 1 acre commercial. Self-storage, let me show you some pictures of what we're looking at. These are climate controlled, fully enclosed self-storage. That's where the demand is. The old style where you just have this large lot with these metal buildings, that doesn't fly anymore. That's not what the demand is. This is where the demand is, particularly in this market. Warehousing, again, we're going to have not metal buildings. They'll have the masonry facades on there, you can see. Phase 2, again, so more really just examples of what it could look like. Give you some sense. And then the green space. And then here's an example of the planting material. So what we do is, and of course in your backup materials, you've got this full packet that describes in detail all of the design criteria that we have to comply with. So every time they come in and pull a permit, throughout the life of the process, they've got to go through it. So it even goes down into the detail of what planting materials we're using. So that is a very brief overview of the project we've been working on for a long time, that you've seen multiple times. Terms, Casada, and the entire city staff's had the opportunity to fully review this. But we wanted to take, again, this opportunity to answer any questions. We've got the full team here. And with that, I will close my comments and open up any questions.
Okay, what we'll do is...
the public hearing still needs to be closed.
I'll go ahead and reopen the public hearing if someone would like to make a comment based on this presentation. Okay, let's go ahead and open up the public hearing again at 8:03. Yes, ma'am.
You can come over
Either
here.
one, either one.
My name is Linda Sefton, I live on Trudy Lane. My question is, I was here at the November 15th meeting, and one thing that was part of discussion was that the developer, Aspire, was receiving HUD funding. And I know there was a discussion that was common, but I would like to know, are they still receiving HUD funding to build this project? If so, what are we going to get in return? Does that mean that a certain percentage of these units have to be low income, subsidized, or Section 8? Or if not, does it mean that at a later date, they can be changed to become low income, subsidized, or Section 8?
Want to handle that?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all, what we're asking for tonight is a land use decision. We're asking for zoning. We're not really getting into the details of finance. We do have a developer here for the multifamily, but it is not a Section 8. People don't build generally Section 8 housing.
But it's not, right?
What's that?
But you'll receive funding from HUD?
I'll let Jason address that.
Sure.
Just come and say your name and then speak to that. But it is not a
Jason Brubb.
Section
How you doing? It's a form of financing. It's a market rate financing. It has nothing to do with Section 8 or anything like that. It's just a financing mechanism tool that is done by HUD, our map lender.
And that is what they're not asking for anything in return when you receive that?
No, no.
Anyone else? Okay, good. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 8:05, and we'll move into the tab number D, which is this now gives council the opportunity to act on it. So this is related to the future land use plan. I don't need to read it all again, but this is the first reading related to the 29 point. Excuse me. The acres to 29 acres. So I'll open it up for council now for discussion of Michael or the developers, and take it from there, Mr. Well.
I guess, Mr. Kashada, since you were talking about the traffic study, do you have any kind of timeline on that, on the 1604 frontage road going over the railroad tracks?
So I should let Randy answer that question. Who's going to speak to that?
Tony?
Yeah, Tony is their engineer. I'll let him speak to it, but we did talk to TxDOT. They will issue, once they submit this project, it will be a TIA, formal TIA, perform traffic impact analysis, in which Tony can speak more.
I'm Tony Olprez, I represent MVC Engineers. We're the civil engineer on the project. We worked with the traffic consultant. It was the AC group. TxDOT's plans are, it's been, the environmental portion has been approved and conducted, and they are in design. probably won't go to construction until 2027, 2028, but it has not been funded. So the environmental portion's done and the design is ongoing, but it hasn't been funded, and their timetable is fluid, but they're looking at late 27, early 28 to do these improvements.
Is there any plan to change the 1976 turnaround under 1604, or is that going to be left the same the way as it is?
With those improvements, there is improvements for that turnaround, but again, it's all going to be in one package. It's not going to be phased. There's no plans for it at the moment for any kind of improvements today. It is in the future.
So the overall plan, I think what you're asking is what are they going to do? Right now you stop, right? You look both ways, then you go. So the discussions that we've had with TxDOT is that it's not going to work long-term and that they actually need to configure that area so that if you are coming, you can just do a turnaround like you would do with any other intersection that you were going through. I think they've understood that and that they're planning for that.
Okay. And then just a comment, I guess, I was originally in support of this because you want to put a lot of money in our community, and I really like that idea. I think I did, before seeing the traffic study and seeing what 1604 is going to do, this is a bad corner accessibility-wise, so you're kind of thinking lemonade originally, but now that this is going to be opened up, I think it's more prime real estate, and I think it would be better to leave it as C4 and C5 zoning as it is now. I understand that property owners, their bread and butter is storage, and that there is quite a bit of C4 still there on that property that you could put storage on without changing the zoning. And I can't ignore the residents that I've heard from that don't think that apartments in North Lake are the best idea. So for those reasons, I'm going to be a no this evening.
Actually, that was my question, is the TxDOT timeline for the reconfiguration. So 2728 seems, with the rest of the plan, seems kind of far out. I know TxDOT doesn't do anything overnight, so.
Yes. So my concern is your high density residential. The proposed apartment complex looks more to me like a resort hotel than an apartment complex, like where everyone's kind of stacked on top of each other. I'd like to point out, just for like other council members, that if you're familiar with Aria Grove, it's right behind QT, the new QT that's on 1604. That is 308 units and it sits on 20.9 acres. Even when I lived there, it felt like it was really tight in comparison. In comparison, this is 291 units on only 11 acres. So that's even more high density than a lot of other areas, a lot of other apartment complexes that we have here. My other concern is also about the residential side of this proposal. I just think it's strange it's literally called North Lake Business Park. So my concern is that people are likely going to walk from this apartment complex to Walmart and to Kitty Hawk past all of these businesses. So I feel like that's not really the right fit to have an apartment complex in this area. Where, like we said, once this road gets done, it does feel like it's going to be very prime for commercial real estate as opposed to having an apartment complex there. And then another question a resident asked me that I wanted to bring up and see if someone could answer. I don't drive this area. I'm not familiar with this area personally, but if I'm headed westbound on 1604 and I get off the new off-ramp, as soon as I cross the railroad tracks and then arrive where the off-ramp connects with the westbound access road, will I be able to turn left on that road? On that access road, and same thing, will the 18-wheelers be allowed to exit 1604 on that same ramp? Does that make sense? Should I reread that? Because I'm not 100% sure with that area.
Yeah, please reread that.
Okay, let me try that one more time. Okay, if I'm westbound on 1604 and I get off the new ramp, as soon as I cross the railroad tracks and then drive where the off-ramp connects with the westbound access road, will I be able to turn left on that? I know, sorry. I don't drive it, so I'm not 100% sure, but it was a question someone asked and I didn't have an answer for it. So I was wondering if we could possibly get them an answer to that question.
The road that turns into aviation.
Okay, so they're coming southbound or northbound on 1604?
Okay, so when I was asked the question, it was westbound, but apparently we gotta switch ways, so.
But it's 1604. Like coming from Converse, maybe?
So I guess where are the railroad tracks, maybe that would help. Yep,
And so, that's why, are they coming this way or are they coming that way?
really great question, someone else asked it, so
The
I'm not.
description sounded like heading towards 35.
Okay, so, yeah, just, sure, headed towards 35, that.
That would be.
Yes,
Okay,
you know, we're heading towards 35.
Okay,
Okay, so they,
cross the railroad tracks.
okay.
On the freeway still.
Right.
Are they able to turn, so maybe it wouldn't be left, maybe it'd be right, is what they're asking, so it's backwards.
So, no, they'll have to go to Kitty Hawk.
They'll have to go to Kitty Hawk, they won't be able to get off and turn there, okay.
When the reconstruction happens, they will be.
Okay, so that's, I guess, what we're trying to get to. So when the new construction happens, they'll be able then to turn left there. Same with the 18-wheelers. Turn right, I'm sorry, turn right, sorry. I'm gonna get there.
So the 18-wheelers will not go to Kitty Hawk. They're, because there's only 2 entrances or 3 proposed curb cuts, they're gonna have to, they're not gonna get all the way up to Bird.
Okay.
They're gonna have to do the loop, or they're gonna have to just, they'll exit. So there's really only a limited number of ways that the trucks can get to these sites.
Okay.
For the residents coming northbound, yeah, they're gonna, currently they're gonna have to go Kitty Hawk and come around. But once the reconstruction happens, they'll be able to exit the freeway and take a right on Bird.
Which I think was, okay, so that was what they were trying to get to, is that then that makes that highly sought after for commercial, because it makes it easier to get in there, to go shopping, to do whatever you need to do. Okay.
Well, no, that's fine. I can address that, but that's an interior lot. That is not, that does not have frontage off of 1604.
Okay.
So keep that in mind as well.
Okay. I'm good.
So, when you just said that it was an interior lot, you're talking about the warehouses?
No, so let me pull up the plan. So if we look at, so here's 16, the frontage road, Bird. So the multifamily is primarily over here. The reconfiguration exposed this part, but the majority of this lot is interior, so it's not fronting 1604. So when retailers look at that, it's not as prime as this corner lot. And in addition to that, retailers will tell you that you need rooftops in order to get the retail. This provides a lot of rooftops.
So she asked, basically, this is are any of these apartments subsidized, or is it all market rate?
Market rate.
We've talked in the past, I'm not a fan of the storage, but if we do nice storage like you're proposing, and this is where I would really stress that it is one of the nicer models, I can get past my anti-storage feelings and support that, but as a guy that works in that neighborhood, I am a little concerned with the amount of traffic coming down Kitty Hawk, but it also, I mean, more rooftops is good for more retail, so. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Ms.
I just want to ask for clarification. The long-term plan with 1604 is to have a frontage road that crosses the tracks. So there will be a lower part that actually crosses the tracks, which now we have none.
Okay, so this is the long-term plan. So, I'm trying to decipher this.
when I looked at it, I had a hard time deciding if it was just highway or it was going to be frontage.
So the expressway will obviously continue in multiple lanes going over the tracks. Where you will not be able to cross the lower level and a frontage road over here next to the base and cross the tracks.
That's what I was asking, because that's what then makes it really desirable commercial property is if you get that access. But I think as long as you have to continue to exit over the tracks, so confusing to, if you have to stay on the highway above the tracks and then exit, then that near corner to the tracks continues to be problematic to get to.
Right, and so to illustrate your point is this, again, this is the proposed plan for TxDOT. We stripped it down. So this is crossing over, this is the freeway, and this is the exit. You have to be in the right-hand set of lanes on 1604 to exit, and the closest lot, or the first lot you'll be able to get to is questionable, is you might be able to get to the lot 4. And so that's why it's questionable, right? And they have to work that out with TxDOT to see where those curb cuts are gonna be. But that basically, if you can't access lot 4, you definitely cannot access, you will not be able to access lot 5 from the freeway. So there's no retail that's gonna go there at all. Lot 4 is gonna be questionable. So these lots, the self-storage and the corner retail that's being proposed, that's viable when it's reconstructed.
I have a question. So, okay, so then you're saying that it's possible though to get to 3, which would be the apartment complex.
There's no exit, there's no curb cut, and so likely TxDOT, they're only gonna allow a certain number of curb cuts off of Farms Road. And
So you're saying a business couldn't get in there though?
right here,
Yeah, like what if that wasn't an apartment complex? What if that was a building? Could you do, if it was retail?
They have to get the curb cut from TxDOT approved, they have to get it approved.
Okay.
I want to be cautioning you about talking about TxDOT timelines. I think Mr. Offers brought it up. So 23 years ago, they told us they were going to make the improvements to 1604 that they just finished. For 23 years, they said they were going to do it. Part of this project, especially the tracks that Ms. Fitzpatrick brought up, was in that original plan, but it was so complicated and so expensive, they dropped it to get the plan done that we just did. So I think he said it, but perhaps maybe it doesn't sink in, is that they may have the environmentals done, they may be thinking about it in 27 and 28, but the big thing that he said is they haven't funded it, which means that they're probably looking for federal highway dollars or something of that nature to get that. That's very competitive. Also, with some of the debt ceiling things that we have coming up, if you're paying attention to that, we know that one of the ways that the politics is working out on that is they want to reduce the amount of money for railroad tracks. We're talking about a railroad track. They want to reduce the amount of money for bridge. We've got multiple bridges here. They want to reduce the amount of money that they're going to have for CDBG funds, and they want to reduce the amount of money that they're going to have for highways for however long until they can get their finances worked out. So I wouldn't get too hooked into a 27 or 28 because it's a mystery. I don't know if Tony's still here. Where did he go? Would you say? I know you've been around.
If it's not funded.
If it's not funded, it's, yeah, don't count, hold your breath. Just don't hold your breath.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, along Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby, huh? I'm gonna have a hard time with that. For just a short period of time, but I'm so glad you are. First of all, did you know what cementitious was? Oh, yeah. Okay, just. We have said before, we've had this conversation where Goolsby was not a real fan of the storage at the time putting it up, and I will reiterate my thought, especially when we're talking about Lot 5, because of the type of access that's not granted on that. I never saw it as commercially viable. With the plans that they showed, and like I say, I'm a proponent of the storage facility in that area, of the type of storage facilities that they were offering, which is the 3-story and the air conditioner or climate control, which is something very well needed in this community, especially as it's growing. The only storage offered is right off the Meadowland. That's public storage there, and there is no temperature control over there. I think that that area there and the type of facility they're talking about putting there is something the community needs and will help well serve in the future. But yeah, and back to TxDOT, that was my point being there. The 27, 28 sounds like a long ways off, and it is, but you can just basically throw that out without any funding to it. You know, open prayer. Thank you, that's all.
I was going to say, I do want to say that I share Mr. Edwards' concern about the traffic in that area, both in coming off 1604 currently, because we're going to have to deal with that for many years. I know I've seen people take that right turn, and it is dangerous. But I will say I even drove the loop, Cibolo, and kind of did the turnaround, and also came down from Aviation and did the turnaround, did the curve up that way to go onto 1604. Without the curb cuts in the driveways now, we would have been hard pressed to take a right on into any driveway that had been cut out. I understand though, with the cutouts, people will go slower because they will see the potential that people could be coming in and out of traffic. But I do think that we will have to be aggressive with potentially signage or something for caution, because that whole stretch will be problematic and definitely a risk to the drivers in the area.
I'm sorry, Tony, I hate to call on you again, but can you give us some kind of indication of what signage or something that TxDOT would be requiring on that frontage road regarding trucks coming and going?
At this point, I mean, we haven't got any driveways approved, so we're still on the PUD stage. We've done the traffic analysis, but we haven't actually got to, permitting driveways. So we haven't had any of those conversations as far as, what kind of signage, delineators, or what they might require. We just haven't got to that stage yet.
But in your estimation on other projects, do they work with the developer to have signage installed and delineators?
They most certainly will. One thing that they have already told us is with the warehousing, because of the truck traffic, there will be deceleration lanes for those two lots to pull those trucks off the frontage road into those decel lanes so they can turn. Same way for they anticipate one for the self-storage and retail as well. So we know there's going to be some deceleration lanes to help that traffic flow to get those cars off the main line, off the frontage road into a safe lane to make those turning movements. So we know for sure there will be minimum three deceleration lanes coming forward once we start to do the permitting process in Texas.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How long has this property been for sale?
We've owned the property for, Michael Myler, landowner. We've owned the property for a couple of years, 2-3 years, and we've had it with input from the city, marketed kind of in this fashion for a couple of years, and so and you've seen several iterations of this project over that time frame where we've had lots change. Dealing with the tracks and housing isn't feasible in closer proximity to the tracks, so Bird Boulevard makes sense for the housing location. The warehousing is a little more suitable for that area. Let's not forget that it's bisected by a transmission pipeline that further complicates development, so the separator between lots 4 and 5.
is another piece. But it's been a couple of years on the market. We've had very little interest in the commercial aspect, which is why we're here for the land use, for the zoning change and the land use plan. Let's highlight just to look at that. Immediate access is problematic for lots 3, 4, and 5 because of where the Bird Boulevard, the current exit just short of Bird Boulevard drops off. In fact, you can't really even make it to lot 1 or 2 under the current configuration. If we get the new plan as TxDOT has passed through environmental, if and when it gets funded and finally built, the proposed configuration will still be problematic at Bird for that exit, but the exit further out by the base that then takes you on the newly constructed bridge over the railroad tracks will provide access to lots 1 and 2, not 3, 4, and 5. It's still going to be that kind of that U-turn around to come up that ramp. It's not going to be an access off off that frontage road to get to 4 and 5. So from a long term, so in terms of interest in the current zoning, minimal at best.
Right. With that new proposed TxDOT construction of 1604, whenever it might happen, I'd like to hear your opinion whether you think that would make the property more attractive to commercial. Because if you can't turn off of 1604 into any of those properties, especially where 3, 4, and 5 are, does that make it any more or less attractive from a commercial perspective?
Your retail customers are driving by lots 3, 4, and 5. 1 and 2 is where you might see them. And as we've kind of had some discussions outside of formal meetings, that the better retail land is north of Bird Boulevard in the kind of undeveloped North Lake area as you get closer to HEB and Kitty Hawk. That's better retail land from the access when you look at the configuration.
The one that's beyond Bird towards Kitty Hawk.
Beyond Bird towards Kitty Hawk is a better retail land. So long term, if this were still being marketed 4 or 5 years from now, hypothetically, let's assume this bridges, railroads, all that stuff magically appears 5 years from now. The North Lake land will still be far more valuable than lots 3, 4, and 5 from a commercial standpoint. It doesn't have that access that the traffic further down has.
Yeah, because even with that new bridge, in order for the trucks to access 3, 4, and 5, they're still going to have to go around. If they're coming from 10 towards 35, they're still going to have to go to Kitty Hawk, make that turnaround, come back down and make the turnaround at Gibbs Sprawl in order to get on there. Is that correct? In order to access?
That's correct. The trucks to the warehouses on lots 4 and 5 will not be accessing from the newly built proposed TxDOT highway. It will still be from the turnaround to get to that. Though if you look real close on the TxDOT plan, you'll see, and actually if you drive the land, you'll see they have the, Tony, help me with the
Concrete median.
You'll see the concrete median is there for where the proposed overpass will drop traffic onto the frontage road. So the proposed concrete median lives somewhere around kind of that split between probably lot 2 and 3, if I'm looking at that, or it might be in the middle of kind of lot 3, where the proposed median is, or the edge of 4. But there's no decel room from the new median where the road comes over to reach lots 4 and 5. So it's still the lot 4 and 5. I guess the short version is lot 4 and 5 access does not change with the new roadway. It's still the current animation that was presented.
Very good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that explanation. I have made that deceleration off of 1604 to make the turn onto East Bird. It was on a Sunday afternoon with very light traffic and there was nobody behind me, and I was very careful in making my deceleration. It was specifically after you came and presented the first time, because I asked that question about access off of 1604 and would people be able to make that right turn. Mr. Edwards, I absolutely agree with you, sir. When that starts construction and people are starting to move into there'll be way too much traffic trying to come off of 1604 to make that possible. So notwithstanding the fact that the text dot change for the new exit and the ramp is essentially a hopeful at this point, right? We hope it's going to happen. That's not until 2028. I think that construction, you know, if you had to give it a good timeline, when do you think, if all the stars align and Mr. Casado approves your building permits and stuff like that in a timely fashion, when do you think you might be able to start construction? Any estimates? Even a guesstimate?
First quarter next year.
And then with the first tenants, whichever one gets built first, maybe 2025, late 25, 26, something like that. So that's pretty soon in terms of construction for the city. I'm not inclined to ask you to wait until 2028 to try to get that lot sold, because it becomes even a little bit more eligible for that commercial, or more attractive for that commercial. So I see your point, Phil, and I absolutely agree. I think that if we could get retail in there, that would be an ideal situation for us, would be to have the retail in there, but I just don't see that it's feasible. And especially since it's your property, I'm interested in kind of trying to bend to your desires if we can accommodate and it's in the best interest of the city. So I support your proposal for the zoning change and the PUD changes and everything like that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So one thing I remember we had talked about was between lot 3 and 4, the overlook from my 3-story apartment complex is going to look out over that warehouse unit. And we had talked about, having landscaping or something like that. In the definitions up here, you talk about we will have an adequate landscape buffer. But when I look at the drawings, that little bit is not dimensioned, but I'm going to estimate that at about 5 foot. I wouldn't mind if we added a little bit more of a landscape buffer between on the industrial, on the warehouse side, to that. I know that we have from the building line of the apartment to their fence, there's like 20-something feet. But then from the property line, you only have like a 5-foot buffer. Really wouldn't mind a better buffer.
Yeah, so I did pull up, unfortunately, it's not coming up on most of the screens.
We can't see it in the back.
But there is a detailed requirement for landscaping on all the lots, and we wanted to make sure that there was adequate buffering that was going to be provided. And so reading through this, we do have the right to, upon review, to increase or have them increase the buffering. They're proposing fencing in between the residential and lot 4, and that's in addition to landscaping. Plus there's a distance as well that we have to take into effect, and that this is being approved as an entire development, so it's known what's going in next door.
So you're saying, so I guess part of my question is this is being approved like tonight, right? We're approving this, but without any, if we approve this tonight, I'm going to get that 5-foot no strip.
The 5-foot?
that we're calling the landscape buffer.
So
on lot 4.
I have to look at what's on the screen to see if that matches, to see if the actual, what you're looking at matches what's in there. Because this text is the guiding document.
It doesn't give me a dimension, it just says adequate.
Okay. And so
I don't feel 5 foot is adequate. I would like to see it more. I'm ready. I personally am excited about this now. I've gotten past my anti-storage feelings, and I'm ready to do this. And this is where I'm looking at our property owner, and I'm like, hey, I'm on your team now. I just want a little bit more landscape buffer for my for my apartment dwellers, but I'm on your team, but can we play together? And that's where I'm at on this one, so.
Mr. Goolsby, I might, you'll have to kind of look at both the Lot 3 and Lot 4 together. So Lot 3 has landscaping, and when you get to Lot 4, if you read the very small, oh boy, is it small print, it says, Lot 3 multifamily tree and shrub screen, and then it shows a screen on the Lot 4 side as well.
I'm just saying, the imagery, the pictures, again, I love McCray, so I'll look at the
You're talking
pictures.
about the plant
About the
choices?
plan, I'm looking at the plan itself.
Oh.
And I see a nice sidewalk going through on the apartment side. And it meanders up, it meanders between the apartment fronts and the apartments. And I'm assuming we're gonna have some nice trees in there. But typically the onus is on the warehouse side to provide that buffer. It's not on the residential side to provide the buffer, but the commercial side. So that's all I'm at. I'm trying to make sure is that we have plenty of landscape buffer between the industrial and the residential. I got a head nod. I want to make sure we got.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, it's, looks like 5 feet on the plate. It'll be more than we just talked about. It's going to be on the industrial side, and so they'll be much larger than 5 foot.
No, that doesn't mean I want you to take away from my beautiful meandering sidewalk.
That's right. That's right. We're going to have plants around the sidewalk. We're going to have, in terms of the actual width, you can't do anything in 5 feet, as you know. So it's going to be more than 5 feet.
Okay, all right. That makes me happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, before us is this particular portion is related to amending the future land use plan. So what I would now need is a motion to amend the land use plan.
Move to approve the land use plan as detailed, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Councilmember Brooks, second by Councilmember Najarian. Further discussion, anyone? I don't have to reread the whole thing because I already read it, right? It's 29.2 acres. I'm looking at our attorney.
Right, well, we have Manager Turner had made a comment on the motion.
You said move to approve the land use plan. This is actually
Future land use
future land
use
use
plan.
plan.
Right.
Designate between the two.
Yes.
Move to approve the future land use plan as detailed in the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
And I will second
All right, further discussion. Yes, Ms. Boozer.
Does that include the discussions that we had about extra trees or extra landscape? You got that, Mike?
I got it.
Okay, thank you.
That would be in the.
Again, by the way, this is our first reading, so there can be some changes, clearly, definitely. If something comes up between any of the council members that they want to work with Ms. Turner and Michael on staff before the second reading, which would be it would be planned for our first meeting in June. Okay. Other discussion, I'll call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Buck,
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman,
Nay.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
and Councilmember Vaughan.
No.
Okay, that is 4-2, future land use plan. So the next item is a public hearing, basically the same thing. This is requesting for a zone change. So this is part of the process. Future land use plan, zone change, that's the way it is. So I'll open up the public hearing again for this the same exact item, 29 by 2 acres. And if anybody would like to make a comment on the public hearing at 8:40, I'll open up that hearing. Anyone would like to make a comment based on that? Again, this is just the procedural way that we do this. It has to be looked at with 3 different public hearings. Okay, I'll close that public hearing then at 8:41. That moves us on then to tab number 8, which is another public hearing, right? Yeah, I'm right. I'm making sure we're doing this in the right order, right? Another public hearing, which would approve the plan, use development plan. So, and this is another one, again, exactly the same thing. So I'll open up again the public hearing at 8:42. Any comments by anyone? All right, and I'll close it again all the way at 8:43. And we'll move then to tab number E, this will be an ordinance that amends that zoning map of the city for those approximately 29.5 acre property, okay? And it'll remove said property from C5 highway commercial and general commercial to PUD 2023-103 district, generally for commercial services and retail multifamily residential, convenience storage and warehousing, and adopting the PUD final plan. Again, this is our first reading, so if there's going to be any other changes, that we certainly can make those. If we have something that we want to make sure that is clarified, we can still do that as well. So, again, this is yeah, go ahead. I'll take a motion and we'll open up for discussion. Okay, motion by Councilman Najarian, second. By Councilman Goolsby. Discussion further? Council? All right, let's call for the motion then, please.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Nay.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
No.
Okay, the motion passes 4-2. Let's move on now then to tab number F. It's a concept plan presentation for an apartment complex self-storage unit on 2280 Pat Booker Road.
I'm sorry, there should have been 3 motions.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was tab E. We just voted on tab E.
Oh, okay, so Mayor, yes, the ordinance is, so 2 ordinances. One is the FLUP, future land use plan, and the second ordinance has the rezoning as well as the PUD plan.
That's right. Okay. I think that was the motion was made, right, Paul, related to the PUD and the zoning.
Yes, I believe you put tab 7 and tab 8, same ones. What he's referring to.
What is your motion to approve the zone change?
The zone change and the PUD.
And the PUD.
And PUD, yeah.
We're
zone
going in
change
the same
and PUD.
ordinance.
Yeah, that was my impression. It's okay.
All right, so you're free to go.
Thank you. Mayor, councilors, thank you again so much for your time. Stern, Sada, everyone here tonight, we just appreciate your time. And again, we'll be back and continue to work on it and all the issues of course, it's not popular. So thank you again for your time this evening. All right now.
Thank you guys for waiting.
Okay, as I say, the next item is tab F, because we took care of the PUD and that's the conceptual plan presentation, apartment complex and self-storage at 2280 Patrick Road. Michael?
Well, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So I'm going to introduce this real quickly. We do have the applicant here who would like to make a presentation, but I'm going to preface this with a couple of slides to talk about traffic on Pat Booker Road. So just to introduce this project, it has been before you several times. This is the latest iteration. I believe they were here back in November. Is that right, Steve? So this is 2280 Pat Booker Road. This is right behind Pepper Mill. It's the vacant property. And it's a 12-acre tract approximately. They're proposing 192 apartment units on just under 9 acres. And then the portion that is in the ACU Zone 2, they are proposing 4 3-story self-storage buildings. Again, the reason why that came into play is because of the ACU Zone. So this is a less intense use and more palatable to the Air Force. And so before that, I'd like to just touch on a traffic analysis that the city had done for Pat Booker Road overall. And so HDR, our consultants, conducted a traffic analysis, and what they came up with, the study was conducted and the traffic counts were conducted in 2022. The final version came out a few months ago. And so on Pat Booker Road, total number of trips, or the total volume, it's also called AADT, average annual daily traffic. So the total volume on Pat Booker Road is 26,390 trips, both ways, all combined, every which way. And that's from 1604 down to 78. The study estimates that the volume will increase to 41,600 trips in 2045, so in 23 years, 22 years. And I'll get to the last bullet in a moment. So what the study found is that the intersections, up and down Pat Booker Road, all the intersections, the majority are LOS A or B. LOS is level of service. So when that's measured by basically the time that you're sitting at a red light waiting to get through that light. Okay, that's the level of service. And so they rank that, A, B, C, D, and F. They don't have E. So it's A, B, C, D, F. And so LOSD at an intersection is considered feasible, okay? The majority of our intersections are LOS A or B, which is very functional, it's excellent. There is one intersection that is LOSD, and that is at 78, so the south side of Pat Booker Road. So the average annual growth rate, they project it to be about 2.4%, or 627 trips added per year up and down Pat Booker Road. Then we talk about distribution. So the big question that comes up is, well, which way are the cars traveling, and what's the volume difference, right? Are the majority of people going north in the morning, or south in the morning? Well, it actually comes out to, it's about a 45 to 55 split. And the majority of people, 55%, are traveling towards 1604. Okay, both AM and PM hours, peak hours. So we found that very interesting. So now we want to plug into this overall formula the two apartment complexes, one that was approved back in November, December for 2902 Pat Booker Road, which is also called Junkie James. It was the old junkyard. That PUD, the apartment complex, was approved. And then this project, so factoring these into the overall equation, they will both combined add a total at full build out 3,100 trips, and that's about 12%. Okay, so 3,100 trips. Now that's not going to all happen at once. They're not going to build all the buildings at the same time and get their CO and have people move in the same day. So this will be spread out probably over 3 to 5 years if they were to start construction. Market dictates, so they may or may not, but if all things were going well in the market, then 3 to 5 years for a build out would be ideal. So that 3,100 trips being added to the overall Pat Booker system will take place over time, okay? So I want to emphasize that point. So that's about a 3% increase per year if it was built out over 4 years. So getting back to this point here, so what the study showed us is that in order to maintain an LOSD at all the intersections, we couldn't have more than 40,800. So we're a little short. That means that some improvements will be made. So one of the big issues that we all have experienced is trying to go northbound on Pat Booker Road and take a right to get onto 1604. It's backed up. But surprisingly, it still meets, I believe it was an LOSB, a level of service of B, because, again, it measures the amount of time, the number of seconds that you're waiting to get through those lights. And so, yes, it's different than, you're not just flying through there all the time if you're in the right-hand lane, but it's not that much of a delay, okay? However, we understand that we'd like to have that improved. And so, obviously, Public Works, Randy, is working with TxDOT to try and get a dedicated right-hand turn lane, which will free up. And if that does happen, then we do not anticipate having significant delays with all the built out over the next 12 years. So with that said, this is just a breakdown. We dissected the analysis to identify within, at the different intersections, what the actual counts are. And so this breaks it down into peak hours, AM and PM. It shows you the direction and the number of vehicles traveling through an intersection at those times. So with that said, I will turn it over to you, Mayor. And again, the developer does have a presentation he would like to make.
Let's let the developer make his presentation. This is a concept plan, which means we are allowed to give our feedback to the potential developer as to, what we see in terms of this particular project. That's why it's called a concept plan. Come on, sir. Want to introduce your team? Go ahead.
Thank you for your time. My name is David Strauss. I'm a partner with CLX Ventures. This is Thomas Hill. We're from around here. I live in Guadalupe County and he lives in San Antonio. If y'all need our addresses, we can give you those. We appreciate your time. We already appreciate the city staff has been immensely helpful in helping us understand y'all's desires from a procedural standpoint, and we hope to move through that pretty quickly. With that, I'm just going to let Thomas make the presentation, but I'm going to take notes. I would like to think that y'all would feel free to stop us at any point and say, what about? Traffic certainly is important, and we'll touch on that. I think the thing about this site that is the most important beyond where the buildings are and all that stuff are the oak trees. And that's the reason we named it, the Grand at Oak Grove, because the trees are magnificent. Shame on us if we lose one more than we have to. But we'll do everything we can to keep all of those trees.
Okay, and yes, if council wants to make some comments during the presentation, they certainly will.
Good.
Mayor, maybe for Ms. Bulman and Ms. Fitzpatrick. So at this concept level, they're just giving what they're intending to do, and from all of the council members, they're expecting questions and some kind of feedback, because without that feedback, they don't know which direction to move. So obviously they've spent money on doing some due diligence, but before they go into heavy expenditure of dollars on this project, they want to kind of get the feel of what the council is looking for, and then from that point on, they will make a determination of whether they will go forward with the project or not.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for letting us come before you today. Let's go forward with our presentation for the Grand at Oak Grove.
Ours is only about 2 hours, so.
We'll keep it short and sweet. Here's the location of the site in question, very close to where we are today. Located on Pat Booker Road, 2280, in between the Bahama Bucks and Napa Auto Parts and Pepper Mill Apartments. It's just about 11.9 acres. And so we similarly are looking to get a planned unit development rezoned for this site to be able to build Class A market rate apartments. Here's a picture of one of our recently completed projects, the Grand at Stone Creek up in San Marcos. We understand that Ms. Turner and Mr. Casada may have seen it previously, so they can speak to how it is in person. And here's an example photo of how the self-storage project might look. Self-storage is very similar to one of CLX's other main food groups that we develop, industrial warehousing, just at a smaller scale. And we plan to do climate control, good quality with really nice materials, concrete and good secured access, fencing and gates that will allow this project to not only be secure but also look good when it's constructed, but also for many years to come. The first question you might have is there a market for these two kinds of projects? And if we focus on multifamily first, by our calculations, there's a net demand of 871 units in this area of San Antonio. And we're aware of the 260 units, as Mr. Casada mentioned, that White Conley is developing right now. So those units, in addition to our proposed 192 units, would still leave over 400 units in net demand for this area. Here's our current site plan that we're working with.
I'm sorry, can I, if it's okay, Mr. Mayor, since you offered, Have you considered the apartments that have recently been approved by Universal City, as well as the apartments that are going in along 1604 across from the, what's the mall over there, North Star Mall? There's a lot of multifamily units going in. Rolling Oaks, sorry. North Star is down on 410, sorry. The Rolling Oaks Mall. Did you take that into consideration as well when you were doing your demand studies?
Yes, we've looked at that. That's a little bit different market. I mean, it's real close. It looks like it's real close, but it's a different sub-market. White Conley's doing the other project that's right down the street from this. I've been partners with them. They're great developers, and y'all will enjoy their product. We actually had lunch with them to make sure that we weren't butting heads as far as product and sizes of units. So between the two projects, it'll give the residents or the potential residents a better selection of sizes of units and types of units. The amenities are very simple.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. So here's our current site plan we're working with. As you can see, we've overlaid a tree survey and topography survey, and as David mentioned, and I'm sure as you all have noticed, right by Pat Booker, there's many wonderful trees on this site. So we're going to engage Bartlett Trees, who we've worked with in the past, to not only save as many trees as we can during construction, but preserve as many of those trees for many, many years to come, because we really want it to be a centerpiece of the site and they'll make it look very mature and beautiful in the best way possible. Here's some photos of some of our past projects. This one is built up in Fort Worth called Grandon Beach, one of my favorites. Here's some pictures from our most recently completed project, Grand at Manor, and photos of the club room, which will look very similar to the club we're proposing here. Some pictures of the club pool. Major difference between this one at Grand at Manor and here will be the pool won't be wrapped by units. Instead, there'll be a detached clubhouse that will be located in front of the pool. Pictures of our model unit. We're very proud of the projects we build. We like to consider them something that we would be very happy to live in ourselves. And some things that we put in, like granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, just really do give that extra feel of quality to the units. Here's our fitness center, which we outfit with some really nice fitness equipment. They're very popular in our projects, and they really do get used a lot. Shifting over to self-storage, here's a report for the storage market in San Antonio. The biggest thing to point out would be the positive rent trend, indicating that not only is there high demand for self-storage within San Antonio, but in fact there's increasing demand. And so we think this would be very well received here. Here's our current site plan for self-storage, subject to change most definitely, especially the point of access on Pat Booker Road. We're in talks with TxDOT right now whether they would allow a curb cut so close to the secondary access for the apartment project. That may have to be a shared access point, or we may have to ask for access from Peppermill. We're in discussions with them as well too, because that road to them is privately owned.
But it's kind of a news flash. About an hour before the meeting, I got the answer from Peppermill. They're not real thrilled about giving us access off of their existing roadway, which certainly disappoints us. And so, to the point of access, that corner of both of these projects may change to where there's a shared entrance, so that there are not two entrances, there's actually one. But that's about a 2 hour ago comment. So it kind of took me off my feet when they refused to take money for us for just a curb cut off of their road. But that's all right. We'll get by it.
Right. So we're exploring all our options there. Here's another picture of how the self-storage project might look, just with the materials and the secured access that I mentioned before.
Now, let me speak to this because it's pretty, I think this is pretty bland looking, but this is just a concept. All these buildings are going to be air conditioned. If this is, well, they're all going to be air conditioned no matter what it looks like. But this one the concept is everybody could drive up to their unit rather than having to go up in an elevator. So it's a concept.
And as for the impact to the city, we've received all our will serve letters indicating there's currently ample water and sewer capacity. We're having storm drainage being designed by our civil engineer and hydrologist, which will assure proper storm drainage. We're going to put a deceleration lane for the entrance to the apartment project on Pat Booker Road, in addition to a bus turnaround, which will allow for traffic to move unimpeded. Pate Dawson, the civil engineer who performed our traffic impact analysis, has indicated that the self-storage project would have de minimis impact to traffic on Pat Booker. And here's an excerpt from our traffic impact analysis that Pate has performed for us. And specifically also too, we asked about the ability for semi-trucks to be able to drive into a self-storage site. And they commented, although that is a rare occurrence, that we're definitely going to take that into consideration along with our civil engineer and architect to make sure that that would be an opportunity available for anyone with a semi-truck, as rare as it is. And additionally, speaking to the intersection of Pat Booker and 1604, the frontage road, we explicitly asked our civil engineer, Pate Dawson, that question, whether there would be significant impact there. And she believes because that is nearly a mile away, that there will be negligible, if any, impact in traffic to that intersection. Here are critical date schedules we're working with right now. We plan to have our PUD application completed in the next week or two. And then, if possible, we hope to have approval within the next 45 days following our submission. And as far as development goes, we plan to close on the land in December of this year, and then begin construction at the latest, May of next year, hopefully earlier, and then begin delivering units in April 2025, and then finally deliver our last units in October of 2025. A little bit more about us. Another picture of Grand Island Beach here. We're very active on the I-35 corridor in both industrial and multifamily. One project that's under construction in close proximity, here's an apartment project, the Grand at Cibolo, which is under construction now, going very well, and excited to be in this area of town. We really love this area of town, and also very excited to be investing in Universal City. And here's some more pictures of our two main types of projects that we develop. On the left, large warehouse that's located in the DFW area, and then on the right, again, Grand at Stone Creek, located in San Marcos. The principals at CLX have been developing together for 14 years, and in that time, we've delivered over 2,300 units of multifamily and over 9 million square feet of industrial space. And we've capitalized over $1.2 billion for these projects. And so, like I said, we're very excited to be investing in the future of Universal City. Here's the contact info of all the members of CLX. Feel free to contact any of them at any time. David and I will be spearheading this project, hopefully, and so feel free to pick up the phone, call us, or send us an email at any time with any questions or concerns you might have.
Okay. Yeah, you want to add something?
Yeah, if I could. Y'all have seen this, other iterations of this, as mentioned that it was presented in November. We have downsized the project from the unit count to 190, which for us is a small project, but it will lessen the traffic is one reason. Another reason is that it will give one-third or whatever one-third of 190 is, I'm not really good at math. 64 units will be accessible units, which is, there'll be some retired Air Force folks, or retired people, or just anybody that needed access. So, I'm trying to think, I had another half thought there that slipped away, but I'm old. We talked about CLX being in the business 14 years. This is my 54th year in the multifamily business. And I've had the wonderful opportunity to develop all over the country, including here in San Antonio and other places. It's been an exciting business to be in. And one last comment, y'all got the best logo of any city in the United States. Are there any questions,
Pretty proud of our
concerns?
relationship with them. Yes, open it, it's feedback time for us now, give you our impressions of what you just presented. So, you start with you, Mayor.
All right, so the feedback I've heard from residents, there's a couple of things. So several residents have mentioned that they're not necessarily for another multi-family complex, especially since this is 190 units. I'm almost wondering if a couple residents were kind of spot on. Like I said, I don't do this for a living, and I'm not telling you how to do your job. I'm just relaying what the residents told me so that you understand where the residents are coming from. So they would be more excited and more amenable if it was something that was seniors only, like a retirement living complex. That would be easier for people to approve, even if it was, especially being what our town is, if it was retired military seniors, if that was sort of priority as opposed to another multifamily unit, especially because we already have a complex going in at Junkie Joe's. So if it's not something different, it doesn't feel like it's something the residents want unless it's geared towards seniors only retirement living. The other concern that really isn't for you guys, but it is the residents' concern, is safety. It feels like the police department already doesn't have enough police patrolling, and apartment complexes are known to have higher police call volume than single-family homes, and that doesn't mean that they're more crime-ridden, it just means that more calls typically get sent over to apartment complexes than single-family homes, so that is a concern of the residents. So that's probably the two feedback things I have directly from the residents.
Take this for a little smile on my face. We don't discriminate against older people, especially when I look at myself in the mirror. So we have not, in my past, I've done senior housing. We have not thought about that. We'll take a look at that. As far as numbers of emergency calls, certainly if it was senior, it would increase calls by the EMTs. And anytime you put a lot of people in a small place, there are more. We haven't had, in the projects that we build, we really haven't had an issue. It's a concern, but it hasn't been an issue. So, but it's well taken. I mean, it's a good point.
Oh, that's it, sorry. Those are just their two concerns.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You mentioned we are going to have a bus stop.
Yes.
And
it'll have a bus turnaround.
Turnaround
Yes.
on site. Right?
On site, yes.
And then we are looking at a deceleration lane?
Yes.
Okay. Then you just said you're looking at having 64 accessible units. And I know this is preliminary, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now, you've got a whole lot of carports, but not one of them has an ADA symbol in there. If you offer the carports, you know you've got to have.
Yeah. And the other thing that's not on that site plan is garages. We will have some garages, and they'll be handicapped also.
I truly appreciate the something that Ms. Bulman brought up earlier was just the density, and this this is not like packed in, and you've allowed that green space because of the trees. So I truly appreciate that on Pat Booker, because every time I looked at that, everything I came up with, I was tearing down all the trees. So I'm really excited that you're keeping some of those trees. I do not like that image of the concept image of the storage units, the brown one. The other one had more merit to it. It had lower spring lines. That's fantastic, because you're right next to residential, single family residential. I understand you may want some type of height for the office. I get that, but I thought Michael said there was 3-story units going in here, and I was freaking out. And so, because that's not what I saw, I think I misheard. So. These units will be kind of secluded for the most part, these storage units. So I'm not looking for them to be a marvel of architecture. I'm just totally different.
They don't have to be ugly.
And then, with Peppermint. Yeah, I don't blame them for telling you no, because if that's the access for the units where I'm talking about having larger, heavier trucks going on. Did you offer to like, hey, this will be a concrete concrete drive?
I've offered to buy the road from them and then let them use the road.
Okay, never mind.
And they kind of went, why would you do that? I go, we need access, we want access. And then the road replacement's on us.
Yeah.
And they're still thinking about that piece.
Okay.
I think they're probably having a drink over that one.
Thank y'all.
But it's a good one, yeah.
Thank y'all very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too was a little concerned about the storage unit until you were explaining, the singular level there. I like, for the last plan that was presented, I like the fact that even though there was more units, you were still taking great care the way it was designed to keep those trees, and by doing lesser units here, then there's even less damage to trees. You did answer one of my questions, because last time we were talking about garages, I didn't see them in here, you just answered that those will still be kept. Also, we had a lot of discussion, and I remember the different, we were trying to figure the difference between the holding pond and a drainage pond. I think we were talking about holding. Was there any changes to the dimensions in that, or is that?
No, the pond hasn't changed sizes. However, our civil engineer's not through with his downstream analysis.
Okay.
And so that may change something. It might take away some more of the self-storage. It won't change the apartment layout too much, if any, but that configuration may change slightly.
So, and to my point there, I think you just answered that for me. You say if there is any change, it might take away from the storage. So in other words, we're not talking about any plans to make it smaller, but if anything, it would be larger.
Yeah. It may be deepened some, but no, I don't see it. It's not going to be smaller because we're covering a lot of the land with parking, etc. So we'll need every bit of that storm storage.
And that's exactly what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the way you've laid this out, and getting to his point too is like, didn't like the plan, didn't like the looks of that first plan, as far as looks, aesthetics, yeah, it's just storage, but again, we always say, I like to say, this is UC, and we don't go for junking. So I like the fact that you answered as far as aesthetics, why you're going to be paying attention to that as well.
Shame on us because the trees, we've got to build a project that lives up to what those trees say. Just.
I think pretty much that's all I have.
I guess the point's feedback, so there should be some feedback. I like what you've done. I don't have any problem with it when you said trees, and I think that's what I would want to hear. I just to be honest with you, I think it would be hard for me to see me saying yes on this down the road to rezone it, just because I feel like we're on kind of apartment overload. And I know we say we want rooftops for retail, but it seems like for retail doing well, the retail that we have, like HEB in particular, is pretty slammed. So that's just my
That's fine. In our actual presentation in the PUD plan, I'm not going to say we'll ever talk you into that vote, but we'll provide some data that hopefully will give you comfort that there are more people looking for apartments than there are apartments. Even after White Conley, after us, even after the project that these gentlemen back here talked about. So, I mean, it's, in the apartment industry is a lot different than it used to be. And, it's a lifestyle choice. And with that comes demands on us developers that build projects to provide a finished product, I mean, there is no comparison from 15 years ago or certainly 40 years ago. You know, I look back at some of the projects that I was involved in early in my career, and they were nice at the time. But today, people really demand the stainless steel and the granite countertops and the undermount sinks and all of that, the jacuzzi tub. So anyway, I get it, and but hopefully we'll provide some information for you that makes you feel better about it anyway. But if you go against it, I respect that too.
That's why you got that kind of feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate the quality of your product. The finishes look nice. The commitment that you're doing to having those high-end finishes, I think, is important. I hate to give up more retail property on Pat Booker. I would love to see more retail come in, but we look down the street and we see lots of empty spaces that are currently there. And so I recognize that that's not, people aren't willing to develop the property in that way because it's not renting in our area. So I do appreciate the product that you're putting forward in front of us. I appreciate the thought about the trees. I think that's great. For me, the storage I wasn't thrilled to see more storage even away from Pat Booker a little bit, but I do appreciate the difference in the fact that it would be climate controlled. I think that's important, that it had that differentiator, because I don't think we need other regular storage units out on that street available.
Okay. Any more feedback for him? Does that give you some food for thought?
Do that.
Right.
Just one more comment. I think your comment about the retail, the buildings that are vacant and have for lease, I hope and I think that when White Commons project gets there and our project gets there, it gives it gives a rejuvenation for the retail that's there. And I think there'll be a good part of that, because new development, well done, usually telegraphs into the neighboring buildings and businesses. Hopefully that'll be true here too.
Okay, so your next step then is to get prepped up and present to P&Z, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you all very much for your time.
Okay, hope that feedback was good for you.
Thank you for waiting. Very much so.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Tab G, consider bid acceptance for the Red Horse Park Package 2 parking lot. Kim, let's see.
Take a 5?
Yeah, we got 3 items before we go into closed session, so let's take a quick 5-minute break. No, that's fine. I think it's important. Any more time?
I just have the same question.
What's that? Okay, we'll go ahead and reconvene. What I'm going to do before we get to tab number F, which I was going to do, I would like to switch to tab number I. Right now, there's an item that's going on that's related to one of our businesses and stuff, and so I would like to switch to tab number I, and then we'll go back to F. I is to consider Resolution 951-2023. It's a resolution authorizing a project which will facilitate the promotion and development of new or expanded commercial development, and which was approved by the Board of Directors at the EDC meeting on May 11th and providing an effective date. And this is our first reading, so we'll go ahead and pick that up, Kristen.
Mayor, thank you. So thank you for moving ahead of time. Miss Mandy Mason, the owner of Greener Grooming, is here with us today, and she's having vehicle issues, so she appreciates us letting her skip ahead on the agenda. Greener Grooming is located at 1645 Pat Booker Road in our Gateway Shopping Center. She has had a business here in Universal City for nearly 15 years and is a very strong supporter of the city and of EDC and the events that we host. She has been the Photos with Santa sponsor at our tree lighting for several years. She's a strong supporter of Homes for the Homeless and our animal shelter. She actually donates grooming services to the dogs or animals that come in really bad condition. So just a strong city supporter, and we're very happy to have you as a shining star in our community. She's actually won the Best of San Antonio for Tech Groomers 2 years in a row, so congratulations to you for that. And for the last 10 years, she has been wanting to expand into the suite next to her, and that opportunity has become available to her, so she jumped on it and started those renovations as quickly as possible. For our new council members, one of the stipulations for our storefront improvement program is that the work on the project cannot start until that grant is approved. And so while her construction costs are included in your packets for you to see her total investment, those costs could not, why is she doing it? Contractor's cost was.
No, tab I did not highlight, it's not highlighted, there is no attachment.
Oh, I apologize for that. Let me get in a little bit more detail then. She is spending about $45,000 for her total investment for the project. That is including some lighting upgrades, electrical upgrades, allowing for interior access between the two suites, her current suite and the new suite. She's having to make some fire sprinkler system changes to accommodate those suite combinations, and she's replacing the flooring, updating the flooring in the building. Like I said, because the expansion cost cannot be included, we are just looking at her signage costs. Unfortunately, with when she came into us, the deadline to get on the April agenda and post the legal notice for the public hearing and all of that stuff had passed already, but she could not stall on those improvements because she needed to start getting revenue in those for that building and for that suite. And so she moved forward with that. The EDC did take that into consideration when they had their discussion on, the amount of money that she's putting in for the project. So she did get 3 quotes for signage, and those quotes ranged anywhere from $13,000 to I think the highest was $28,000. And she selected Fast Signs as her contractor and is looking to spend $22,690 on signage. Her sign is going to be a big storefront sign that's going to span over both of the entrances to those suites. And she is actually expanding the retail component of her business along with the grooming component of her business. She does whole pet essentials. She sells pet toys and fresh natural dog foods and is very popular. She told us at the EDC meeting she has customers coming from Floresville, Bulverde, Smith and Valley, Austin, Houston, and she actually is shipping her items out to those customers. So a lot of them are people who were here when they were in the military and moved off, but they still call and ask her, hey, what shampoo did you use, or can I buy this? She's shipping it out. In the state of Texas, grooming services and those retail components are taxable, so she is bringing in sales tax money for those services. And the EDC, after a little bit of discussion, decided to reimburse her $17,017, and if she agrees to spend $22,690 on signage. You guys have any questions for either myself or Ms. Mason, who's over in the corner, about the project?
Anybody? Yeah, it doesn't pop up in here.
I know,
I've seen it
I
because
did not
go there all the
realize.
time, but I've seen the expansion, it's really awesome. And so the EDC has been, they've approved $17,000, as long as she's willing to spend $22,000 extra dollars. Okay.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion made by Councilmember Vaughan, second by Councilmember Najarian. I'll open it up for discussion. Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you for your charity work with the animal shelter and all the other things they do. That's really wonderful, and the animal shelter has a special place in my heart, so that's wonderful. Sorry. I think that's really wonderful. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I would also like to say congratulations on being selected by the San Antonio as a San Antonio Best Groomer. Certainly it shows a very strong work ethic and a commitment to the city and to all the animals that you're taking care of. So happy to help you out with this to remain in the city and grow your business.
Oh yeah, like I said, we love being here. We've been here 15 years. My business partner's been working on that building for 30. We don't want to go anywhere else, so.
Hooray for UC businesses.
We have a motion to second. Any other discussion?
Mayor, can I throw that in there if I had not already? That, not because of the sign, but her expansion, she's hiring additional 2.5 full-time employee equivalent. She's growing her staff too.
She's getting a short person.
Okay, let's go for the vote.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much. Really well.
Okay, now let's go back to tab number F, tab G. Consider bid acceptance for the Red Horse Park, package 2 parking lot improvements.
Yes, Mayor, as you know, every year when we go through our budget cycle, we identify parks improvements. And so Randy's going to cover this one, which is a park one, and then he's also going to cover the next one, which is the public works yard storm.
We have to cover
in separate pieces. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Tonight you're here to consider the bid acceptance of the Red Horse Park Package 2 parking lot improvements. Basically, Package 2 is like our second phase of probably about 4 phases. This project that we advertised was for the northern rear alley parking lot, which serves the site of where the pavilion is in the Red Horse Park. It's going to include redoing that whole roadways alleyway through there, as well as adding the parking lot and expanding the parking lot through there with curbing, striping, and some sidewalk work. I'm pleased that we had 11 bidders on this project. It's been a long time since we had that many bidders bid on the project. So the low bid came in the amount of $252,597.50 by Yanis Company. So we are recommending the approval of the low base bid in that amount of $252,597.50 to Yanis for the Red Horse Park Package 2 parking lot.
Okay, let me entertain a motion.
Move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Second. Second by Councilmember Goolsby. Discussion? Yes, Mr. Vaughan.
How is this particular project picked?
How's this one picked?
Yeah.
It's part of my rehabilitation of our parks. So basically, I put in this park to do it, and we started with the disc golf course parking lot. Now I've divided this up into 3 parts. So for this portion of the park that fit within our budgeting process here. So the next one that we have is going to be what we're working towards in our other parks plan would be to go to the next parks, which we'll be working with here in the next few months.
Okay. Just for feedback, I would like to have some input on how parks are prioritized and what projects we pick. That's kind of why the master plan, I kind of wanted to have a game plan that we could all be on the same page and attack. So just food for thought on the budget cycle or how we can possibly have like a rundown of what's on the plan, and maybe we can move some around up or down the list if we think are more important.
Yeah, as you know, this was considered through the budget process, so it was talked about then. So, but we will be doing that coming forward as well.
Thank you.
Good point. Yes.
I have a question. This is not specific about this, but kind of. Do we ever check with other nearby cities to see if they've used a company or if they have a list of companies that they wouldn't work with? Just to kind of cross-check and make sure that we're not hiring someone that another city already used and didn't like. And this might be go for any project. Doesn't necessarily have to be this one, which is kind of a vague question.
Yeah, the engineers do all background checks on all these bidders that present a bid, especially our low base bidders. But Yanis has done numerous amount of work in our city. All of Olympia was developed by Yanis. So we got quite a bit of background on that.
So you've used them before?
Not so much. In some cases we have, but more the developers who develop in our city.
Okay. Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, I was surprised to see Memphis was the low bidder on this one, so I kind of went through that. Okay, I don't see any crazy anomalies, so, you know, the other ones right next to them, who I was expecting to.
The bigger companies are starting to come to us chasing the government work right now.
And excuse me, but I'm scared to death to see some. It's great, but I'm scared to death to see some of the bidders.
Yeah, yes. I was happy to see that they were our local.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Parking lot number 1 is included with this, even though it's outside of the dotted lines? Is that correct?
Don't go by the dotted line, it's kind of out, yes. But that will be the next one that will be presented during the budget process.
Okay, and I wanted to, I don't know if we've ever said it before, the Red Horse, or sorry, the disc golf parking lot looks spectacular.
Yes.
Well done to you and your staff, sir. The south alleyway on the opposite side of the park is not included in this project, or is it?
No, it isn't. It isn't. So that's what I'm saying. We're going to do it, I'm hoping in 3 phases. When we present the budget for this project next year, we'll give you the next phase that we're going to do. And then if council so chooses to put it in the budget, then I'll have the 3rd phase, which is the final phase, the other side of the alley.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? All right, so we have a motion and a second, correct? Let's call for the vote then, please.
Councilmember Buck,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman,
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Right.
Okay, the motion passes. Go on to tab H, which is again, bid acceptance for Public Works Yard Storm Sewer Drainage Project.
Yes, this one here, you're considering tonight is our Public Works Storm Drain Project. A little background on this one is that if you're familiar with my old Public Works yard, we actually acquired the vacant property behind us for the future expansion of our yard. So this is the first step in doing that. We actually got, when we developed this, we already kind of have a drainage issue as it is right now that we fixed internally, but we're going to install this HDPE pipe, the 24-inch. So when we master plan the rest of this out for the future development of that yard, we can handle the storm drain. So this is the first step of a multi-phase that I'm trying to do over there with that project. So this gives us from that yard, captures, the pipe is right now, in the next phase will be the detention and the grading of that property. But this will give us directional boring that we're going through 2 private yards that already have easements established. And it will take we'll be draining into the Red Horse Park. So we'll be cutting North Boulevard and discharging in the drain of Red Horse Park. So basically, you'll see there that basically we're doing a 24-inch HDPE pipe. Directional bore is through 2 properties. We'll have manhole inlets and head walls at the end in Red Horse Park. We did have 4 bidders for this project. It's a unique project, so it's not, you don't have everybody out there that can do these type of bores. The low bid was received in the amount of $380,011 by Guerra Underground LLC. Our engineer did extensive background on them since we have not worked with them before. Got a lot of good reviews on this contractor, and so he gave us a recommendation for Guerra Underground in the amount of $380,011.
Amazing difference in the amounts of bids. Very incredible there. So you feel really confident that these guys can do it?
Based on the recommendations, they're out of Austin, so this is what they do a lot of, and so they're coming to this area. A lot of Robstown and some of these other around Corpus where they do a lot of their work down in that area. So based on the reviews for these entities down there, they're highly recommended.
Take a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Second, right. Any further discussion, Jeff?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, because when I was looking at D&D, they had the anomaly for me. Everybody else, their unit price was around $300 to $500 a foot for the boring. D&D came in at $1,300 a foot.
Because it's means and methods. Each one was going to do it. So directional, or you could have done the auger. So they were going to do the auger, which you're doing casing and all that. So the cheaper route is your directional, because you can slip it in, and then the auger, you're going to have to go back and forth with your setting the casing and all that. So it's more intensive work for doing all
I should have called you, I'm gonna save myself a whole lot of time with that. I was trying to figure it out, because I wanted to know if they would have been low, if it was like somebody put a 1 in front of their, $1,000.
We gave them the option and each bidder had the choice if they went direct or.
Okay, and then I liked the fact that, you know, their name includes underground, so this is, that's all I have, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and second, so I'll call for the roll then, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Let's go for it. Okay, our next item is, it's a no tab, number 9, excuse me. We're going to go into a closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.72, regarding the purchase and value of real property if deliberation in open session would have a detrimental effect on the position of the corporation in negotiations with a third party, and for attorney consultation pursuant to Section 551-071, parentheses 2, regarding property located at 118 East Langley and 122 East Burke. So we're breaking the closed section now at 9:44, and we'll come back as quickly as we can.
For those of you departing, have a great evening. Thanks for coming out tonight.
We'll see you next time.
I'm just with the company. Empty room to come into.
Well, thank you all for sticking around.
We rode together.
Yes.
I thought about it, driving away in the car.
If you win the faith, I'll hang out, give them a ride.
That's right, I'm with you. I use your car. I'm using the red.
I mean, not the win, but the lottery.
That's how we
Yeah, I
get
wonder
there. That's how we get there.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I want to look at the
I wasn't looking for the red one. Okay, ready? Yeah? Let's reconvene now. It's 9:59. Let's reconvene into open session. And we'll go directly on to tab number J then. Consider the Second Amendment of the contract regarding the Universal City Economic Development Corporation's purchase of 118 East Langley.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the resolution amending the closing date for the property located at 118 East Langley.
Second, motion made by Councilmember Buck, second by Councilmember Najarian. Discussion. All right, let's call for that vote then, please.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
No.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
And Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Let's move to tab K. Consider resolution 952-2023. It's a resolution of the City of Universal City authorizing the purchase of real property located at 122 East Bird, Universal City, Texas, by the Universal City Economic Development Corporation for projects to promote new or expanded business development.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the resolution 952-2023, authorizing the Economic Development Corporation to purchase the property located at 122 East Bird in Universal City, Texas.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Najarian. Discussion. All right, call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Buck.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
No.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
No.
Okay, that motion passes by a vote of 4-2. All right, that concludes our business for this evening. Now it's time for our city manager comments.
I do have comments, but I think it's late enough. We'll just come back up next time.
Okay.
Just remind you just to look at the event calendar. If you're looking for something for your family or your children or your parents to do, we have lots of activities.
Okay, let's start out this evening with our three new council members. So we'll start out with the oldest.
Mental gymnastics.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first off, I would like to say happy birthday to my beautiful wife. So if anybody thinks that I'm not dedicated to the city, it's her birthday and I'm here till 10 o'clock. Then congratulations, y'all, and great job, everybody out there, and thanks to Dick and Ryan. That's all I've got. Short and sweet. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I'm very honored and excited to be on City Council. A big thank you to everyone who voted for me and helped to get me here. I just wanted to let all of our residents know that I'm always willing to listen to their concerns and their opinions. I'm super approachable and easy to get a hold of. In city business, I'd like to ask my fellow council members to place on the agenda a discussion and a vote on putting out the agenda earlier than we currently get it. I don't know if I did that correctly, but that's, if that's an option.
That's a good question. Yes, we can take a look at that. We don't need a consensus on that right now. Okay. That's, you bring that up, this is something you think is important, so you guys.
Thanks.
Understand?
I am also appreciative to be up here, and I hope that I can serve the community well. I look forward to working with everybody up here and really kind of doing what we can do to make Universal City the best place to live, or to keep it that way. Because I already think, much like the guy who spoke earlier, UC is one of the greatest city in the country. And I also just want to highlight our Heroes Camp that's coming up. The first responders of Universal City are working with the Citizens Police Academy, and they are putting on a camp for 12 to 14-year-olds. And so if you know anybody who's interested, there's an email address that's been posted on social media, but also reach out to me and I will be happy to give you information. Thank you.
Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a handout for everyone, of course. And I'll wait to brief tonight, but something to think about. I think these are the rules that we're operating under as a council, and now that we have some new ones, I think it would be wise to maybe consider this on a future agenda item. We can talk about that next time. This has things about like how you get agenda items on there, when the meetings are. Do we want to have department heads come, or
This is in the charter? Set this in the charter?
This is not in the charter. This was just a resolution that was passed.
Oh, okay.
Our charter doesn't have some of the specifics about how an agenda item was created. But just some things to consider, so maybe we can talk about this later, and if we have discussion only items in particular, what does that mean and how's that going to be worked out? Thank you.
Okay. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How much I appreciate serving with the new members, and I will miss the members we have, but things move on and everything moves in a great direction. The voters always know what they're doing as far as I'm concerned. Also, I had something, obviously it wasn't that important, and it's getting late, so we just all need to go home. I'm done, thank you.
What's up to Mr. Budd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it. Also, heartfelt thanks to former fellow council members Shelby and Neville for the years and years of dedicated service that they put in, but also a very hearty welcome to Ashton and Christina, as well as a re-welcome to Mr. Mayor Goolsby. Welcome. I also look forward to working with the two new people, and I'm happy to not be one of the newest people on City Council, Phil. Also, I'd like to point out that we did have I'm sorry, where did that come from? We had the glow dance on Saturday evening at the Olympia Hills Golf and Event Center, and on a dare, I am wearing it for my city member council comments. Happy to be here and look forward to the new legislative session. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. The only other thing I want to for our council members, especially is that the Allen Area Council of Governments is having their new official workshop. It's on June 16th. It's on a Friday, and I really recommend that you go. It's a phenomenal experience, and I think you will gain tremendously from that. It'll be at the ACOG headquarters building, which is at Barron Bible, and I look forward to it.
Yes, so they have 2 upcoming dates, and Kristen will be sending those out to everyone.
Right. Yeah. There's also a P&Z one coming up to it. But anyway, I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. It's a very invaluable opportunity for you. It's probably starts in the morning and continues until mid-afternoon, somewhere around there. It's not overly. I guarantee you won't think it's long because it's very educational. So. Again, congratulations to our newest members. I look forward to working with you, obviously. It's a challenge that we all face, and we're up to it. And we're very proud of what we do for our city, and I know that you guys are very, very, very dedicated to what's going on in your city. So congratulations to you and Derek and Eugene as well for your reelection. So it is now 10:06, and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for hanging in.